In this world, there's two kinds of people, my friend. Those with loaded guns and those who dig. Broadcasting from a Montana wilderness fortress at the headwaters of the Missouri, this is Matt Christiansen Live.
I don't know what it's going to take for the American people, for 78 million Americans, to deal with what motivated them to elect this man again. To make the choice that will allow these people to undermine every fundamental assumption we have. And the choice that they've made, we have to just be honest, is to literally throw the Republic into the trash bin.
Wow.
It's the snake, it's the beast coiled up in the heart, the bosom of the country, as Frederick Douglass said.
Shut up, faggot.
We chose a felon. Shows you what kind of human beings they actually are.
I don't give a fuck.
Who's more interested in retribution, who's more interested in grift than in democracy.
Hell yes.
And we chose a felon because we didn't want to elect a black woman.
Bingo.
You are fake news.
You sound like a groomer terrorist that need to be deported.
Very fake news.
You America-hating communist pig.
Great story. Compelling and rich.
I've become friends with school shooters.
Oh my God, bro! All right, America, go to the YouTube right now.
Dude, Matt straight up sucks.
How dare you!
All right, go.
In 5, 4, 3.
I can't do it. We'll do it live.
Fuck it, we'll do it live!
Hello and welcome to the show. This is Matt Christiansen Live for Sunday, April 13th, 2025. Thank you for tuning in. If you detect some weakness or a little bit less enthusiasm in my voice, that is correct. I've been wiped out with some kind of illness, some kind of sickness since Thursday. I hope the voice holds up tonight, but we're going to try regardless. It's Sunday. I don't skip Sunday unless I'm dead. And I'm not dead yet. Sitting shotgun tonight is our friend, Joshy Boy. Welcome back. Thanks for joining.
Hey.
Great guest tonight as well. Jon Patton from the Gun Collective will stop by in about 30 minutes. In the news for discussion this evening, Trump exempts semiconductors and electronics from his sweeping tariffs to the relief of many tech companies. And then his Commerce Secretary says this morning that tariffs on semiconductors are coming very soon. So as always, the tariff messaging keeps changing. We'll try to make sense of it. Gretchen Whitmer, the Michigan governor, goes to the White House and hides her face from the press and the photographers while she's there. The meeting actually happened earlier in the week on Wednesday, but the photo emerged yesterday. She's getting her photo taken in the Oval Office. She puts folders in front of her face.
So that wasn't an AI thing on your thumbnail?
No, that's real. That's a real photo.
Oh, wow.
And yeah, it's so the whole thing is, I get that she's probably joking in the moment, but I do think it's actually a politically, a moment with some politically sincere takeaways that I'd like to talk about. 2 different people were arrested this week for Trump assassination threats. Mm-hmm. There was a guy called Mr. Satan in Pennsylvania. Mr. Satan won't be doing Satan-like things anytime soon, I guess. And a Wisconsin teenager who murdered his parents to steal their money to finance his forthcoming Trump assassination attempt. This guy was part of, at least according to the feds, a neo-Nazi Satanist movement, which I'm unfamiliar, but I guess they're out there.
Neo-Nazi Satanist movement. I heard it all.
Yeah. I haven't seen that corner of the internet, but it's out there.
You got the Nazis of colors.
No, we got the Satanist
Nazis. We got the Jewish Nazis. Now we got the Satanist Nazis. And we
DOGE,
got the gay Nazis.
I don't know if I've seen the gay Nazis either, but we got all kinds of Nazis these days, so I could believe it. DOGE finds evidence of unemployment benefit abuse. And I have, of course, several cases of hoax hate, including yet another one, pending hate crime charges for a man in Kansas City who, unfortunately, I believe is another victim of a fraudulent sex act from a transgender person. When will this national nightmare end? Stop lying about your gender to try to touch guys, you know what.
Yeah.
If you stop doing that, they'll stop pistol whipping you in this case. We'll catch up with your super chats as well. Speaking of, hey, if you enjoy the show, please consider supporting the show. You can do that one time or recurring for as little as $1 a month over on my website, mattchristiansenmedia.com/support. Support for the show not only helps me sustain, but it helps me pay the people who make the show possible. There are perks available for your support as well. And don't forget, there are lots of new graphics in the merch store also. T-shirts, mugs, and more. Likewise, merch sales not only help my operation, but they support the designers who made the graphics, all of whom are listeners of the show. mattchristiansenmedia.com/shop. Find both of those links right there on the homepage, mattchristiansenmedia.com or mattis.gay, if you can't spell my confusing name. Got to say hello. Oh, by the way, everything in the merch shop, 20% off for the next 5 days, too, my sources say. So that's cool.
I get paid this week, so I might end up getting something.
I can get you a t-shirt. Send me a message. I can make those arrangements.
All right.
The perks of the job. Yeah.
All right.
Also got to say hello to our featured listener-owned business for the evening. That's our friends over at Hope Innovations. Have you ever wanted to grow your own garden, but you didn't feel like you had the space? With food prices rising and chemicals being added to our food every day, you might consider adding a hydroponic garden system to your home. Grow clean and fresh produce all year round with the Eden Tower from Hope Innovations. When it comes to growing your own food, invest in the best system out there and discover the joy of regularly having freshly harvested salads, homegrown herbs, tomatoes, peppers, and more with your very own hydroponic system, engineered to be elegant and practical. The Eden Tower stands above the competition with its patented cup system that allows you to drop a seed and go. You don't need a green thumb to easily grow delicious and nutritious food. In fact, business has been so good over at Hope Innovations that they're now sold out on the kits until June, but you can still pre-order them. You can get delivery in June for just 50% down now, 50% due at shipping later in June, and you still get that awesome $200 listener discount as well. And in case you didn't already know, that's right, listeners of this show get $200 off an Eden Tower Hydroponics kit from Hope Innovations through a listener-exclusive link available only on my website. Head on over to mattchristiansenmedia.com/deals. Find the Hope Innovations section and click the link for $200 off an Eden Tower Hydroponics kit. You can get started growing your own food easily and simply today, or maybe in June, but sooner rather than later. Of course, find everything you need from our friends at Hope Innovation, plus other great offers from the rest of our friendly listener-owned businesses at mattchristiansenmedia.com/deals. Deals by listeners for listeners. And don't forget, you can also check out my signature soaps over at Hero Soap Company as well. Timberline is a frosty pine experience where the forest meets the peaks. Extra menthol for a high altitude cooling effect. I owe you one of those bars too. We talked about that last time.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Old West is a blend of sweet leather and oak barrels ready to bust open the saloon doors. 10% off these high quality all natural soaps and everything else from our friends at Hero Soap Company. Promo code MC Listener for 10% off at herosoapcompany.com. All right, one quick piece of housekeeping, and that is the announcement of a new archive channel. This is an announcement, of course, about the former stream, The Matt and Blonde Show. Now, I've decided to maintain all the episodes of that show on a separate Rumble channel dedicated to its archiving. So, as of this week, thanks to producer Tim, and many hours of work necessary to do this, we have the Matt and Blonde Show archive channel on Rumble. So after today, I'm going to be making the Matt and Blonde Show episodes on my YouTube channel private. They're not going to be deleted, but they won't be publicly available on my YouTube channel anymore. Why am I doing that? Well, there's a lot of stuff in the history of that show that puts my YouTube channel at some risk. I've had this happen many times over the course of my YouTube career where somebody gets mad and reports something from a video 3 years ago, 4 years ago, 5 years ago, and I get a warning or I get a strike. And yes, that happens to me with material I've made myself in the video game context or my own commentary. But I do not want to take any damage on my YouTube channel for something someone else said, especially for someone else who quit on the spot as we went through. That said, I'm not trying to hide the material, of course. I don't want to just take it down and delete it. I want to protect myself from unnecessary damage. So the solution is a Rumble channel dedicated to the preservation of that show, and that is what Tim built for us. The Rumble channel is Matt and Blonde Archive, and it's rumble.com/Matt and Blonde Archive. It'll be linked. I have an archive page I'm including on my website now for old material that's not active anymore. So you can head on over to the archive page on my site starting this week. You'll find the entire history of the show there. But we have important things to discuss. You may be familiar with the Los Angeles TV channel and news network KTLA.
Yes,
This might
I've seen
be.
a few clips.
Sorry, what'd you say?
No, I've seen a few clips.
Oh, yes. You've seen KTLA's work.
Yes.
Very professional otherwise, I'm told. Now, KTLA might be LA's most watched TV news. I don't know. If it's not the most, it's right up there.
Yeah.
And then on Friday, without additional commentary or context, KTLA just tweeted it right in the middle of the day.
He said the N-word.
And as I was saying to you before live, it's plural, all right? It's hard
Yes.
R and plural. Multiple N's were described with just this one word. Why is plural funnier than singular? It just is.
It just is. You can't explain it. It's just funnier when it's plural.
So
Without any context, anyway.
what excuse was KTLA going to go with? Were they hacked? Was it the rogue intern? Maybe they were going to say, no, we meant what we said. You heard us. Yeah, we meant that. No, KTLA is going with technical error. KTLA.
That's a technical error. Somebody typed that in and thought they could get away with it. Somebody was trolling.
This is their explanation. KTLA experienced a technical error while adding language filters to our social media accounts, resulting in an offensive word being accidentally shared. We are appalled, and we apologize that this occurred. So if I understand correctly, they're saying that they were working on some kind of language filter, either for bad words they don't want to see from their account or bad words they don't want to use on their account, I guess. And they just tweeted it out is what happened.
I doubt it.
No. I think your implied interpretation is probably correct. Like, was this the social media intern's last day? And they're like, all right, I've been waiting all semester to do this before I get out of here. Okay. NIGGERS, jump out the fire escape. I don't know.
Bro, I would have. They should just left it up there. Left it up there for the world to see.
Now, quitting spectacularly has been a theme discussed on this show in various contexts. Have you ever thought? Now, I would never do this, but it's one thing I've discussed with friends who've worked retail, like I have. Like, for example, I worked at Target for a summer in college, and not that I ever would. It's just what if you had access to like the phone system, like attention shoppers. And you say it, and then you just run out the door as fast as you can. Now, this is kind of doing that, but it's on the entire internet.
Yeah. Me and my sister one time, we wasn't just joking around about, how you go up to a drive-thru and you just make your order?
Of course, yeah. You're just going to say it there?
No, we would just be like, can I get a motherfucking, let me get a goddamn number one. Don't be putting on no pickles on that bitch. I'll whip your ass if you do.
All right.
Just being the most ghetto and ratchet people.
That sounds like a great way to order at Popeyes. And I'm a fan of Popeyes. They probably that's like the way the menu specifies it at Popeyes, I think.
Exactly. Yeah. Also, Popeyes chickens really suck. But if you want to bust out somebody's window, you can just order from them.
How dare you?
Popeyes, when done right, is premier. But unfortunately, I've only had sorry-ass white bitches make it here in Montana, and they're not very good at it.
Right. The only time Popeyes is ever good is once in a blue moon, which is almost never.
Now, KTLA, I think, should have just stuck by this tweet and said, actually, we were testing out a new system of reporting where we summarize a story in the fewest words possible. I thought that there are a lot of stories in LA that could be summarized with just that word. Tonight, live and local ends. Thank you.
And it's in LA too.
Yeah. Now, and KTLA, they kind of need to be more concise and more accurate with their reporting on these topics. Anyway, I'll give you an example. This week, an employee at an LA area discount store was killed by shoplifters. Now, they don't specify the shoplifters who did this, but
well, they're colored. So.
My sources say they are young scholars who are right on the cusp of a significant scientific discovery, which is always a tell. But yes, these rowdy youths, they stole from the store, and this guy chased after them, and they attacked him, and they hit him in the head. And according to the family, they ran him over with their car, and he was killed. They straight up murdered him. KTLA's headline, "Man Dies after confronting
Man dies
shoplifters in a parking lot. Like he just had a heart attack, or he had a stroke, or he had a DVT. He just died. Man dies.
Suddenly that tweet makes a lot of sense.
Well, hey, speaking of urban crime problems, in New York City, recall Governor Kathy Hochul has deployed the New York National Guard. I already see you wincing at this headline. Just wait. Kathy Hochul has made several attempts to make the subway safe and approachable and enjoyed by New Yorkers. Of course, if you do have to defend yourself from a deranged attacker, the state will still go after you and try to put you in prison like they did to Daniel Penny.
Yeah.
Here's the thing, though. Even if you do what a good boy would and you allow yourself to be killed by someone like Jordan Neely,
yeah,
if you die, you still might not be safe on the New York City subway, okay? How about this headline this week? NBC New York. Man wanted after viral video shows him performing sex acts on corpse in the New York City subway.
No! God, please, no! 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 No!
Law enforcement sources with direct knowledge of the case say this man performed sex acts on another man who died on an R train. NYPD officers responded to reports of a body on that train at the Whitehall subway station just after midnight. That was yesterday. When officers looked at video from subway cameras, our police sources say they found the man in the yellow hoodie there sexually abusing the corpse, stopping only when passengers entered or exited the train. Police say that man had been dead for several hours before that vile attack.
This is with another dude?
Apparently. That's, yeah. I mean, you never know these days what pronouns mean, but yes, he R'd a guy on the R train, if I understand. He R'd a dead guy.
That's, and this is a man of color, correct?
Well, depends on your definition. He is he looks to be, there is a woman of color involved. We'll get to her in a moment. But this man looks to be maybe Hispanic.
All right, catapult of justice. That's what we need.
Now, how did the dead guy die? That is undisclosed in the story. I presume a drug overdose or something like that.
That makes it even worse,
maybe,
especially if it's a homeless dude.
Maybe he also got robbed and then was chasing down the robbers, and they beat him over the head and ran him over, and he just died that way, like people sometimes do in LA. I'm curious, according to the reporting, what specific sex acts were performed, not described in the story.
Why can't they just say she's black? Like, woman with a dark complexion. What else would she just say? Black. I'm reading it right now. And she said she was wearing a yellow hooded sweatshirt, black pants, and a black baseball cap.
Well, New York is practically a communist country. And of course, everything is backwards in communist countries. So in New York, you don't ride the subway rides you. But as I mentioned, they did steal. And when you're talking about the woman who did steal here, the woman of dark complexion, she is now wanted, in addition to the man who performed the sex acts, she's wanted for removing unknown property from the dead body. So she stole something. It's now
she looted the corpse.
Yes.
It is.
And you know the person writing the headline here at Staten Island Live just enjoyed this part. This one is a grand larceny probe. Well, I thought it was the first guy who did the probing. How many people are probing in this story? Anyway.
I'm not going to even say it. But I'm not going to even say it. Brother, she being a black person and wearing yellow is making me think very bad thoughts and everything. But
well, that was the other thing. Why are they both wearing yellow hoodies? Yeah, you noticed that. What's the deal with that?
There's two possibilities. One is a gorilla joke that I was about to make, but I'm not going to do it for YouTube's sake.
What does a yellow hoodie have to do with a gorilla?
Well, they eat bananas and everything.
Oh, it's just a banana reference. Okay.
The other thing that I can think of is they're wearing yellow. I mean, the only street gang I can think of would be the Vice Lords. They wear yellow.
What about the gorillas?
The gorillas?
Yeah, are they a gang? There's a gang that wears yellow, like the Bloods wear red, is what you're saying?
Yeah, there's the yellow gang is called the Vice Lords, I think.
Well, I'm going to call an audible here because I want to leave enough time when it's time for John to join. So I'm going to skip a couple topics and come back to them if we have time, or come back to them after John joins. But before John does join, I want to make sure I have enough time to talk about the tariff update. because we've talked, rogue N-words and raping bodies on the subway. We should talk serious news for a minute so that this stream has some respectability about it.
Mm-hmm.
But yes, we should check in on Tariff World because the updates, they keep changing quickly. Now, Trump is going aggressively against China, as we've discussed through last week. And then China's retaliating with their own tariffs. Because of that situation, semiconductors are a big concern. These are chips that are an essential component in all of your favorite electronics and computerized devices, your cell phone, your laptop, your car, your Xbox, your TV, all that stuff. And a lot of these chips come from Taiwan, but a lot from China too. A lot of devices that are even made with Taiwanese chips are then assembled in China before they get here, like iPhones, for example. And of course, the relationship between Taiwan and China is its own mess. So big time tariffs on China in general, or just, tariffs in general, they could cause big price increases for consumer electronics. So on Friday, the Trump administration announced it will exclude electronics from the reciprocal tariffs that he implemented last week and then rescinded or scaled back or paused, except for China. Mm-hmm. Now, why did they do this? Well, perhaps to appease the big tech industry players like Apple or Samsung or Nvidia. But this is where it gets a little more confusing. Today, Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick said on ABC that there actually isn't going to be tariff exemptions at all on semiconductors or electronics. These semiconductors are going to get their own special tariffs very soon because they are a vital industry that we should be building in America.
Let's start with that news late Friday, this exemption on electronics, smartphones, laptop computers, and the like. What's the thinking? Why the exemption?
Well, if you remember, over the past couple of months, President Trump has called out pharmaceuticals and semiconductors and autos. He called them sector tariffs, and those are not available for negotiation. They are just going to be part of making sure we reshore the core national security items that need to be made in this country.
But wait a minute, I'm asking you about the exemption.
Remember, those products are going to be part of the semiconductor sectoral tariffs, which are coming.
So you're saying that the big tariffs on things like smartphones and laptops, iPhones, all those iPhones built in China, that those tariffs are temporarily off, but they're going to be coming right back on in another form in a month or so?
Correct. That's right. That's right. Semiconductors and pharmaceuticals will have a tariff model in order to encourage them to reshore, to be built in America.
Okay. Now that's an explanation I can't even really follow. I don't know about you, but I get the idea that computer chips are fundamental for our national security and independence, as in we don't want to rely on other countries to make our chips. Otherwise, they can cut us off from those chips and we're screwed. That makes sense. I also understand why you might want tariffs in that situation or for particular industries like that to protect American industry and American independence, avoid reliance on other countries. That makes sense. But why then do you do a tariff exemption even temporarily? If the point is ending foreign dependence, building our own industry, if that's what we're trying to do, what does the temporary exemption achieve? The only way that I could understand or explain it is we're going to allow, cheaply made Chinese iPhones for now, but later we're going to tariff them away. Okay, so it's like a bridge to the desired situation or policy, I suppose. But how does that policy of the temporary exemption incentivize production in the United States today? How does that policy prompt Apple to build a factory in, say, Texas instead of Beijing? The only reason why they would do that is if it's cheaper to make the phones for American consumption in the United States than it is to build them in China. But the only thing that would make them cheaper or more cost effective would be the tariffs themselves. But now you're saying you're not going to do the tariffs, at least at this point in time. Mm-hmm. Maybe they've struck some sort of deal where Apple or just whatever consumer electronics company is saying, okay, don't do the tariffs for now, but we will build a factory in the United States. So please don't tariff us while we're transitioning over to that factory, and then do the tariffs once the U.S. production capabilities are built. maybe that's what's going on. Obviously, we don't have that information. Even if that's the case, I still think it's a little bit of a questionable policy, but you could explain it that way. Hey, we're holding off on these new tariffs while we negotiate preparations for them later, but that's not what he said. He said the tariffs are coming in a few months. It's not like, well, we're going to have production ramped up here and then we're going to start tariffs. No, tariffs are coming in the short term in a few months. So again, why do this short exemption at all? And as has been the case with these tariffs for weeks, I understand the policy aims. Frankly, I agree with a lot of the policy aims. I think they're good. But the explanation has been, in my opinion, terrible or contradictory.
Yeah, it definitely doesn't help an average Joe like me who doesn't really understand tariffs all that much. I understand the goal is to try to bring American jobs back here so we can start making stuff here in the United States. But after listening to that, I'm just like, okay, I don't know what any of that means.
Yeah, well, and not only is it a problem for you or me, the average American consumer, it's a problem for businesses. And this has been a problem for the community. The tariff problem here is like almost less about the tariffs themselves as a matter of policy and more about the communication. Because if you're in business and you're planning investments for the future, what you want is predictability. Even if the policy is bad, if you know what's coming, you can plan for that and you can make your business decisions for the future based on the predictability. Right now, we're just getting new policy thrown out on almost a weekly basis, and it makes it very difficult for business leaders to make decisions about the future, investment decisions, decisions about how they spend money when they have no idea what's coming next week, next month, next year. And so everybody freezes their spending because they just don't know what to do. And so, I
think this whole tariff thing just wasn't really well thought out. I understand the goal. I just don't think they mapped it well.
Or the chaos is the strategy. Maybe there's some strategic angle they're trying to achieve, but I'm less and less believing that when you've got like members of the administration themselves at odds. Like you got Elon Musk and Peter Navarro back and forth, and Howard Lutnick's been part of that, and they're kind of fighting among each other. Again, I don't mean this to say like the entire aim is trash or something like that. If we get deals that are more in America's favor in terms of our global trade, that's good. If we get a more viable American industry across a variety of sectors, that's good. I'm not trashing those aims or those intentions. And I appreciate where some of that is happening. It's just, man, could we just be
it's
like
just bonkers right now?
It's just like, tell us what's going to happen and we can all plan for that. And instead it's like, it just, and Trump, I guess, because there was confusion about what Lutnick was saying, because Trump announces on Friday these electronics tariffs are going away, and Lutnick comes out and says, yeah, but like not really, because they're coming back in a couple months. And then Trump posts on Truth Social essentially what Lutnick said. Yeah, we're moving these electronics tariffs to a different bucket, not the reciprocal tariffs, but their own special industry bucket. And they're going to still face a 20% tariff as part of the administration's move to punish China for its role in fentanyl trafficking. Again, I don't dispute the aim. I get it, but why then are we announcing on Friday no electronics tariffs or reduced or paused? Then we're saying, just kidding, 20% and very soon. I don't know.
I don't know, man. This whole thing is just way over my head.
Well,
somebody's gonna have to dumb it down for this retard right here.
I don't know. I was trying to find a KTLA joke that fit there, but it didn't work.
No, no, they already did the joke. It's it's the tweet. It sums up everything. That's what makes it funny, right? It sums up everything very nicely in just one word.
How does it sum up the tariff policy communication?
Look, so for example, my lack of understanding for this tariffs, you can refer to the tweet that they did. Yeah.
Okay. You want to understand crime in LA? Refer to the tweet they did.
Refer to the tweet.
Wait, the only thing it doesn't help us understand is why that guy arred that body on the subway, because he's not a straight N. He's a different kind.
Was that woman with him, or was that a separate thing?
I think they were. This is what makes that story even more sick. I think they're two separate, unrelated people. So instead of helping, instead of trying to fix the situation of a dead body on the subway, people look at that and think, how could this be to my advantage? Either I could pick the wallet of that dead body, or I could pick something else of that dead body. I could do God knows what to that body. But yeah. Anyway.
Several hours, by the way. That thing has been dead.
Yeah, but to have multiple people take advantage of a dead body in only a couple hours is an achievement itself, not an achievement. You get what I'm saying? It's like an achievement in degeneracy, debauchery, demonic behavior, whatever you want to call it. Anyway, my friend John is here, so I'm going to take a break and go get him. We'll talk more about the rest of these stories when we get back at the top of the hour. I'll be right back.
Stand back and stand by.
Man, is that background behind you color changing? Wasn't it a different color last time?
It's very possible. Yes, it does. It does change colors.
High tech, man.
Magic.
Well, as you could probably hear in my voice, I have nearly died several times over the course of the last few days from some sort of mystery illness. So bear with me.
Don't start that shit again.
Why?
We're not doing the mystery illness from China thing again.
I don't know if this one's from China, but
why don't you tariff that thing and see how it works out?
Well, hey, that would be a great transition if I didn't have a professional obligation to introduce you. My guest tonight is Jon Patton from the Gun Collective, which you can find at theguncollective.com. Anyway, you were saying, I know you want to talk tariffs and guns potentially, but
Sure.
Another thing to promote before we get into that, GunCon. I don't know anything about GunCon, but I gather contextually it's a convention related to guns. How would one participate in GunCon?
So it's really simple. You just buy a ticket and come show up on June 28th in Cleveland, Ohio. It's going to be incredible. We've got a whole bunch of brands showing off their latest and greatest in the industry. People are releasing new products at the event. We have a brand launching at the event, which is super freaking exciting. Not only that, but during the day, we've got multiple live streamed Q&A panels where you can come and ask questions. We've got the Second Amendment panel with top Second Amendment content creators, as well as the sort of heads of some of the biggest 2A orgs out there, like Second Amendment Foundation, GOA, FRAC, and NRA ILA. We've got the Next Gen panel, which is the up-and-coming creators that you're going to want to pay attention to, and the elite creators that are kind of more established, been doing this for a long time, and have huge audiences. Then we also have a fireside chat we're doing with Attorney General of Missouri, Andrew Bailey. He's going to come out and sit down and talk with people and answer questions as well.
Pam Bondi. Not that I'm dismissing that Attorney General, but I thought I have questions about the Epstein. I mean,
Pam Bondi is a pile of trash, if you ask me, but,
she's not
that's
welcome
a
at
different
GunCon.
conversation.
All right.
But yeah, GunCon's going to be awesome, man. It's going to be great. The ticket includes lunch, which we bring in a bunch of food trucks. Food's awesome every year, and a limited edition T-shirt of your size. We're not just handing out like everybody gets a small or anything weird like that. You get a GunCon T-shirt and your lunch and access to the event, and you get to meet a whole bunch of people, and you get to see a whole bunch of guns. It's going to be great. June 28th, Cleveland, Ohio. Go to guncon.net, get your tickets.
There you go.
Look at that. Seamless plug.
Guncon.net.
Thanks,
all right.
Matt.
We were talking a little bit of tariffs before you joined, so it'd be good
listening.
Yeah, to get into that a little bit, because I've been following the tariff stuff, and at least as well as we can, and I'm trying to be patient and understanding with this and assume the best intents. And frankly, I think there are a lot of great intents and some things that are being achieved. I don't want to come off as though I'm always crapping on it, but man, do I find it hard to follow. And one of the things that I have not paid attention to is potential impact on the gun industry. You're saying that there could be some significant impacts.
Well, there are a boatload of guns that are not made here in the U.S. Now, a lot of brands have made efforts to make more and more and more in the U.S. because of wars and shipping issues and blah, blah, blah. Like, I think COVID really shocked the gun industry in that way. But, you know, there are whole companies that import everything they do from various countries in Europe. And not only that, but subcomponents are made all over the world and sourced all over the world. So obviously we don't know just yet because the gun industry moves like a turtle. But if these tariffs start to have effect on components of guns and ammunition, we could see the Second Amendment become more and more expensive, and not just like intentionally. Like, you know, we see states trying to enact taxes and specific things to the gun industry, but this is a problem that is larger than the gun industry that happens to be affecting it, which is kind of scary.
Yeah, what do you think I hadn't even thought about the ammo market at all, too. Right. And I think a lot of people don't necessarily, I don't know. I mean, everybody wants to buy American. I think it's important to buy American. And then when you're looking for ammo at the store, it's like, well, that one's this much per round and this one's not. So I'm going cheapest per round. And a lot of those are from foreign manufacturers.
Right.
Do you know?
And if you think of the componentry required to produce, say, gunpowder, you need nitrocellulose. And as far as I know, we import a huge majority of that into the U.S. to just make gunpowder by itself.
Yeah. So even if you are assembling your cartridges here, the components are imported. Okay.
Right. Like bits and pieces of this, it's not coming out of the U.S. You know, it's not sourced here.
Has anybody put together numbers on like what you might expect? Like, okay, this is what like a box of 9 mil is going to cost now, or
I honestly, I don't think it would be accurate even if they did. You know, I don't think anybody in the gun industry could put that together because we don't know where the tariffs are at. Like you guys were just talking about, we don't know where this stuff's going to stick. And if they keep going, well, we're just going to push it off for a little bit, we're going to see what happens.
Yeah.
Then, you know, we're going to have this sort of roller coaster pricing, and I wouldn't trust the numbers to begin with.
Well, I wanted to talk a few other news stories with you, including some would-be Trump assassins who were busted this week.
Oh my gosh!
One of them.
What is going on?
You're my Pennsylvania guy. I don't know if you know that, but when I need someone to explain Pennsylvania antics, I go to Jon Patton. Okay.
Okay. I'm well versed.
Did you hear the saga of Mr. Satan?
No, I am so excited to hear about Mr. Satan.
So this is Butler, Pennsylvania. Of course, the site where
again?
Butler? Again. So what's in the water in Butler? Do you know?
Meth?
Quite possibly.
I don't know.
Yeah. Would explain the behavior of the shooter over the summer too. But yes, Mr. Satan, or a guy who was on YouTube under the name Mr. Satan. His real name is Sean Monper. He's 32 years old, but he was posting threats on YouTube to kill Trump and Elon Musk and other government officials. Now, here are some of Mr. Satan's greatest hits in the YouTube comments on various videos, including Trump's, not State of the Union speech on March 4th. He said, "We just need to start killing people, Trump, Elon, and the rest of these agencies that Trump appointed, and anyone who stands in the way." They say he posted that he was going to assassinate Trump himself. He also posted threats to kill ICE and DHS agents. In February, Mr. Satan wrote that he has purchased several guns and has been stocking up on ammunition since Trump took office, promising to do a mass shooting. So apparently he's friends with Tim Walz too.
I've become friends with school shooters.
But your thoughts on Mr. Satan?
I think that dude needs a hug. I mean, this is a clear case of TDS. This is Trump derangement syndrome to a T. These people are unhinged. They do not know how to emotionally regulate when something doesn't go their way, and they start to act out in ridiculous ways. And clearly, this dude thinks the appropriate thing to do is to threaten sitting president and a whole bunch of other government officials publicly.
It's such in the YouTube comments section too. It's like, we don't know.
Listen, I've seen some horrendous shit in the YouTube comment section, like just horrendous. I don't I don't think people think it through. You know, and I don't know if this guy
You
was
don't
thinking
think
he
the
was going to go
YouTube
to federal
comments are,
pound me in the ass prison.
You don't think the YouTube comments are philosophical diatribes? You know,
I mean, listen,
it's bad for your health to read YouTube comments. I advise against it.
One of my favorite things is when guys will type like this huge explanation about like what something I've said is wrong. And they are very adamant that I'm wrong. And it's just this wall of text. And they probably spent, a good 10, 15 minutes typing it all out angrily. And then I just don't effing read it. Like, I'm not reading that. I'm not wasting my time with your anger. And that's this kind of guy. Like, these guys they lost their effing mind when Trump got in. And now he thinks the solution is to kill him, which is interesting.
And he's not the only one, and he's maybe not even the craziest
like,
one.
This is not new.
It's not new this week. That's the thing.
Wait, those are another one?
Oh, but this kid actually killed his parents in pursuit of it.
No.
Yeah, this is Waukesha County, Wisconsin, outside Milwaukee. 17-year-old Nikita Kasap. I assume I'm probably mispronouncing that, but
yeah, maybe.
He was arrested in March. He is now charged with 2 counts of first-degree murder and 2 counts of hiding a corpse. Now, the hiding of the corpses, I'm not clear on. I didn't see it described in this story. But so he killed his parents, at least according to prosecutors. And he did this because he needed to obtain the financial means and autonomy necessary to carry out a Trump assassination and overthrow the U.S. government.
Wait, he said that?
This is what prosecutors are saying he said.
Okay.
But they're in possession of writings to that effect. He's also charged with stealing over $10,000 from his parents. Now, this is what if you want to steal your parents' money to go kill Trump, you are allowed to just steal. Well, you're not allowed to, but you can take it without killing them.
That is an alternative.
Yeah, you could just pluck the wallets or, move money from the bank.
Did you just give that kid permission?
Why did he have to kill him to take the money? But
he's a lunatic.
Well, this is where it gets really interesting because his motives are a little more specific than just I hate Trump. So investigators got his phone, and this is all according to their description of what they found. So I take it with a grain of salt.
Allegedly.
Yeah. But they found material related to what they're calling the Order of Nine Angles, which is a network of neo-Nazis who are Satanist. So according to the FBI, again, you decide whether you trust the statement according to the FBI or not, or who may have planted these ideas in his head, of course. The FBI says they've reviewed the documents, and he said, among other, so he had images of Adolf Hitler saying, "Hail Hitler, hail the white race, hail victory." And this was not just neo-Nazi stuff, it was for Satanist reasons, but I didn't see any specific quotes about Satanism. Anyway, that's just what they say. But he was in touch with other parties about his plan to kill the president, overthrow the government of the United States. And he paid for, at least in part, a drone and explosives to be used as a weapon of mass destruction to commit an attack, according to prosecutors in the federal affidavit. So this kid, for Satanist Hitler reasons, is murdering his parents and using their money to buy drones to go drone attack Trump.
Wow.
And there were others. There were other parties who were putting him up to it.
I think this kid's probably a piece of shit, right? Like, I think that's probably the case. I also think law enforcement loves to just put shit together. Like, he had a drone and he had ammo, therefore weaponized drone. Like, that stuff happens all the time. I would love to see actual evidence, like he had a bomb. He had the attachment thing for a drone, rather than like, well, he bought a drone and he has some ammo.
But he did murder his parents, so there's that.
Right, like guaranteed. If that's true, which it seems like it probably is, this kid sucks. And the whole like Satanist angle is kind of weird. The whole thing is just strange,
I actually don't understand.
A lot of kids out there just looking to be accepted, and sometimes the neo-Nazis are very accepting of deranged young children.
Sometimes the Nazi Satanists are recruiting. Now, I say this sincerely, not even to mock.
Recruiting is not wrong.
I would like an articulation of the Nazi Satanist philosophy. I assume like white racial identity, but how is that viewed through a Satanist lens. Yeah. What is the Satanist angle? And there are, it's apparently
it's just like we white race above all else, comma, also Satan.
or who comes first, actually? Yes, Satan or the white race.
What's the pecking order here?
It's a fair question to ask, and there are many angles here because this is the order of 9 angles. So I'm not clear on the hierarchy.
Yeah, why not 10?
I don't know. They only needed 9, but they're new to me. So
I don't know any of them.
Another story I wanted to bring to your attention, because a lot of like self-defense 2A angles to this, even though it seems like your run-of-the-mill law enforcement story. But often the same people who are harshly critical of police use of force, which we should be, all right? Police should have high standards. I get it. But you know what I'm saying? Like the Black Lives Matter perspective that dominated politics, say 2020 to even present. People who want the police completely, defunded, obliterated, whatever. But the same people, they're not like the ANCAP people who hate the police because they think even all of that should be privatized. These are the same people who also want to diminish your Second Amendment rights and your right to defend yourself. So we want the police absolutely neutered, and we want you neutered too. These are the people I'm talking about. And one of these people is the governor of New Mexico. And the problem with doing this, with diminishing the capabilities of your police and diminishing the rights of citizens to defend themselves, is, of course, what? The criminals still operate. The criminals don't just go away because everyone's nice to them. In fact, in many cases, they expand. They run free. The criminals worsen their capabilities. They don't just go away. And so in this quest for kindness, what you get from people like the New Mexico governor is you get an ironic harshness. It kind of happened with Kathy Hochul in New York too, with the National Guard on the subway. Now we're seeing it in New Mexico. And to give you an example of what I'm talking about, like the Black Lives Matter politics dominated the perspective of this woman, Michelle Lujan Grisham. And so you had a police shortage in Albuquerque. You also had her trying to issue an order that nobody can carry in Albuquerque.
I remember that. Yeah.
Even if you're you're licensed for concealed carry, you still can't carry, is what she tried. And so now crime in Albuquerque has gotten so out of control, and they don't have cops to do the policing. And of course, they don't want to rely on the citizen to defend himself. So the New Mexico governor, Michelle Lujan Grisham, is announcing that she's deploying the National Guard to assist law enforcement. They can't do law enforcement, but they're now assisting law enforcement in Albuquerque. Here's some NBC reporting.
New Mexico's National Guard tonight is getting ready to be sent to the state's biggest city. The governor sending them to Albuquerque to battle what officials are calling a crime emergency, in their words. This is kind of unusual because we often hear about the National Guard responding to things like natural disasters or maybe civil unrest. But the city's police chief and the mayor both say they need help tackling some other big problems.
Key to freeing up officers to fight crime and keep those statistics going in this powerfully good direction. We've got to have more civilians. And so a short-term way to help with that is by the National Guardsmen helping out.
So what are they going to be helping on? Things like the fentanyl crisis, a spike in violent crime, specifically among younger people there, and getting some work around the city's homeless population.
Okay. Do you think it's going to work?
Did you notice the Breaking Bad guy on the bus behind
I did. Yeah, it's like
so good.
The Walter White Heisenberg jokes write themselves here. But yeah, he's there lurking in the background.
Just there. Yeah, that was clutch. Sorry, what was your question?
Well, your thoughts on this law enforcement. I find it so funny that the people who want like a nicer, kinder law enforcement in the context of both police and in terms of your protection of yourself through exercising your own Second Amendment rights, accidentally or inadvertently become much harsher in law enforcement by quasi deploying the military to do it, even though they can't. Like these guys aren't going to be arresting people. They're going to be like providing supplies and doing logistical support. Why can't you recruit cops to do that? Oh, right, because you've made your state unlivable and you've made being a cop untenable. And then for the people who just live there, you're trying to diminish their rights to defend themselves too. So now the military, in your quest to make things nice and kind, you have soldiers doing quasi law enforcement work.
It's kind of ridiculous. You know, they want this monopoly on violence You know, these anti-gun politicians, they want to be in control of violence in the U.S., much like all around the world. These politicians want to control it. And I find it interesting that on the opposite side of that coin is the desperation for acceptance from moronic voters that also think that the police should be defunded. So they're trying to do two things that are polar opposites. One is election fodder, and the other is a desperation for control.
Yeah, there are a lot of layers to understanding this philosophically, and I always feel foolish
Right.
for trying to treat it sincerely. But you know, you've explained it well there. Hey, is that a spindrift?
It is.
You,
it is.
a man of elite taste, you know. Is
That's
that
right.
Can I guess this correctly? Is that a strawberry peach spindrift?
Oh, I didn't know that existed.
Oh,
I now have to find that.
Well, no. Is that what
No,
is that what you're drinking?
It's mango orange.
Oh, okay. I was gonna say my expertise in drift is unquestionable, but I guess now I have to question it since I wrongly interpreted that color orange.
Yeah,
but
this is the mango orange, and it's delicious. Thank you.
We're not paid by
I
Spindrift.
I keep a
I'm
few.
just a fan.
Like right here, the grapefruit. I kept one of them.
Oh, grapefruit sucks. Get that out of here.
Grapefruit is aggressively bitter, and
Yeah.
that's why I like it. It makes me feel like I'm alive.
I bet you say that about IPAs too, huh?
No, I hate IPAs.
Okay, good.
The grapefruit makes me taste it kind of feels like drinking battery acid. Just horrendous.
Well, before the top of the hour, not that I brought you on to talk Spindrift. I'm just a drift admirer. Those who know me know I like a good rare drift. Whenever we're at the store,
good,
it's like,
dude.
I've never seen that flavor before. We got to pick that up. Anyway, aside from Spindrifts, anything else you want to talk about before the top of the hour here?
You know, I think we are in a really strange time in the U.S., and I think everyone is terrified. And I don't know how your audience feels about this, but I would really like to hear your opinion on where we end up in the next 6 months. Like, you know, in fall, when fall's starting to kick around, are we still dealing with this tariff bullshit? Like, what is happening, Matt?
I don't think so, because I think there are two possibilities for what's going on, and either one leads to some resolution. So there are two interpretations for what we just saw this last week. If you're of the kind of pro-Trump perspective, or the belief in what Trump's doing on this, you're saying, okay, he riled up the markets to exert leverage to get these people to come to the table to negotiate better deals. And the Trump people are saying that this week. Like, oh, we got 70 countries who have come and want to negotiate with us.
That's 4D chess all over again.
It could be true. I mean, there are some countries we know to be negotiating. I don't know about all of them, and we don't know what the terms are, but there's evidence that that's happening. The other more critical perspective would be, no, the people in power, primarily Trump himself, think that tariffs are good for their own sake, not as a leverage mechanism, but they're just good because they protect U.S. industry or they raise revenue for the government or whatever else. And the only reason that he changed is because he saw the market reaction. It absolutely tanked. He didn't want to be viewed as a president who caused that. So he reversed because of market and industry reaction. That's the more critical view. Now, in my thinking, whichever one of those is true, you're going to get some resolution in the time frame that you're talking about, like 6 months, because if there's some sort of great plan here, you would think that would be resolved and enacted in like a half-year time frame. If it's submission to market force and market reality, well, you're not going to try this over and over again for 6 months and get the same negative market reaction and still push through it. Because no matter how many ways you try this, of like, how about this idea? Oh, nope. Okay, I'm going to back off and do something else. How about this idea? Oh, nope, that was negative. I don't see the sort of moves we've seen in the last week to the last month or so of like, how about this, or maybe that, or up and down, or X and Y. It's just not sustainable in either interpretation. So I think we're going to get some resolution. I would prefer it be through like some sort of leadership and clear communication of like, listen, here's what the plan is. We're going to do
that's
X.
a lot to expect. That's
yeah,
a lot.
I mean, it's been very chaotic, and I think if you're trying to stand up for Trump, you're going to say there's some sort of strategic angle to the chaos. And the best I can see for that is just, well, the chaos causes people to come talk. Yeah,
you know,
it has a lot of damage too.
I think there's fair points in all angles of this. Maybe not 9 angles, but there's fair points in all of it where I think the concept of being aggressive towards another country to get their attention, that's a legit tactic. However, at what cost? Because we're seeing all of these tech companies immediately overnight changing prices, and the consumers are feeling it like huge. It's wild watching it happen. I'll give you an example. I'm a 3D printing nerd, and the April 8th, there was supposed to be a new batch of some brand new printers coming up for sale. And not only did they sell out immediately because they're the hot new item, but the price went up at $200. And now it's already, I haven't looked in the last few days, but it was up over $500. This is a Chinese company. And it's like, what are we doing here to punish the country, or are we punishing the consumer short term? Like, what's the gain here? And also, I think one of the biggest questions is, why the F aren't we doing this with tax incentives? Why are we just going, you know what, in order to get you to make stuff here in the U.S., you're not going to pay income tax or whatever tax that we've created for X amount of time? Like, why are we not incentivizing countries to bring that money here rather than punishing another? It just seems ass backwards to me.
Yeah, that would be a fair question. You know what you should do? You should get in that podcaster seat in the White House and ask the press secretary, Caroline Leavitt, that question.
I really don't think the press secretary has given a straight answer in the last 20 years. About anything.
I'm glad you made that broad enough to encompass more than one person. It is a propagandist.
Yeah, all of them have been awful. I've never seen one that I liked.
Yeah.
They all just seem like they're full of shit.
Really quick before I'm out of here, I saw a super chatter. Oh, where'd it go? There was a question in the super chat that would be, here we go. It would be good for you to reference.
Okay.
And not that I can't, I just lack experience with one of these, so I feel unqualified to answer the gun question in that way. But I have one listener in chatter who is entering. I'm not sure if he's planning on carrying or if he's just buying his first gun for like home defense. Let's assume like all-purpose gun, first gun purchase. Maybe you'll carry it. You're going to keep it for home defense. Okay. He says, should it be a Walther or a Glock? I guess any model.
That's so broad that it's very difficult to say. If you're looking at the totality of each brand, the ultra reliable, ultra boring answer is Glock, right? But I personally prefer the way the Walthers shoot. The Walther PDP, excellent pistol. Excellent pistol. I much prefer that personally over anything Glock makes currently. However, Glock does make a very reliable, known good gun. So what I would suggest is take your ass to a range and go rent both. Shoot them side by side and test which one you like better. That's like the number one thing that I think will answer questions like that, is go try them, because you can rent them all over the place and see what fits your hand better, what you shoot better, more accurately, what is more comfortable. All of those things add up. And for me, I prefer the Walther PDP to any of the Glocks. However, I own both.
Sorry, coughing break.
Is that sufficient?
Yeah, I'm having another death episode related to this illness.
Don't die.
I'm trying. Well answered, and thank you for that. And thank you, VV, for the super chat. You know, it's top of the hour, so I'm going to thank my guest, Jon Patton, there for his contribution and his wisdom. TheGunCollective.com for everything Gun Collective related. GunCon.net if you want to attend the upcoming GunCon in June.
I would love that.
In Cleveland.
I would really love that.
Anything else you want to mention before you're out of here?
No, I just want to say thanks, man. I appreciate you. I appreciate your audience out there watching. This is always a really fun thing for me, so I appreciate you having me on, man.
Of course. We'll see you back here soon. Have a great night.
Brother.
All right, I'm trying to make it through. I hacked up a lung there.
Do
Hopefully
it.
that's enough to carry through the rest of the show.
I do have a quick question.
Yeah.
What is a drifter?
Oh, spin drift.
A spin drift.
I call them drifts. Yeah.
All right,
Just look
what
up
is
spin
that?
drift. It's just a sparkling water like LaCroix or I don't know, that kind of flavored sparkling water that tastes like, if it's labeled raspberry, it tastes like it had one raspberry dipped in it once. Like the flavor is so
I've
faint.
had similar. We have what was called a bubbly down here, and it tastes like shit.
Same idea. Those are Michael Bublé's thing. Drifts are the elite of the flavored sparkling water industry, though. Yeah, check out spin drifts are like it's like John was talking about. They got that kind of like the lemon one has that kind of acidic quality to it. It's not juice, but it's got like a little more, just got a little extra bite that the LaCroix and the bubblies can't compete with. So,
all right. Well, if it doesn't have at least 3 cups of sugar in it, it ain't no good for me.
I once lived that way, and sometimes I still do. But once you're old and dying like I am, you have to opt for water sometimes.
I'm almost there.
All right. Yeah, that's right. I forgot. It's just black don't crack, so you look younger than you are.
Yeah, especially when I get my face shaved. But I am old and gray.
Let me check in with Super Chatters. We'll get back into the news. Come on, Brian. Hi, Matt. Love you, but I have to watch The Last of Us. We'll catch the show tomorrow. Well, thank you for stopping by to Super Chat. Regardless, I haven't watched The Last of Us show at all. Did play the first game, anticipated the second game, bought a PS4 just to play the second game, and I couldn't finish. One of the few video games I couldn't finish.
So you never played the first one?
No, I did. I played the first one and
Oh, you
loved
did?
it. Even though it had a little bit of that lesbianism in the DLC.
Yeah, Neil Druckmann, I think that's his name, was taking notes from Anita Sarkeesian, right?
Was he?
said,
That's a thing. It's not just speculated, but that's legit.
No, that's he actually said that.
So
his
she legitimately
inspiration-
ruined that franchise.
Yeah, because he wanted to be more inclusive or more sensitive to those topics.
Ugh. When I started up the second game, and this is a slight spoiler, but the game is what, 5 years old now or something like that?
Yeah.
The first thing you do is you join up with another lesbian who goes to a bar to to get justice against the man who called her a dyke or something like that. It's like, lady, we're in a zombie
Abby.
apocalypse. Who cares if you got called a dyke? And then they go and smoke weed and have lesbian sex. And I made it through that. And then when I had to play as the hulking lesbian, I can't look at her. I can't look at those back muscles anymore. I'm out. I can't third person view this hulking woman's back.
Yeah.
So I quit. And man, movies, video games, even when I don't like them, I rarely just stop, because if I've spent the $60 on the game or I've gone to the movie theater, I don't think I've ever walked out of a movie. For me to quit a video game straight up and not finish the story, at least, it has to be horrendously bad. And Last of Us 2 was unfortunately that for me. And so I haven't even watched the show at all.
Well,
I have no idea.
From what I've heard, the first season follows the first game almost beat for beat. So if they're gonna follow the part 2 beat for beat, it's gonna turn into real shit real fast. But I will say legitimately that The Last of Us Part 2 is not the worst video game that I've heard of. We have other contenders such as Dragon Age Veilguard, that's the new one.
Yeah,
you also
I
had
haven't
a game
played
called You also have a game called Dustborn, which for me personally took the crown of having the worst dialogue ever.
They
So I used to be an English-
ruined Mass
Go ahead.
Effect with that nonsense for me.
Yeah, Mass Effect
Andromeda was
that used to be the king for the worst dialogue
Yeah.
ever. But then I looked at Dustborn and I was like, ooh.
Yeah.
See, as an English major, I kind of like to write stories, but I try to find examples of good writing versus bad writing. And everybody says that, what was that game? Everybody says a Concord was the worst game, right? Of all time. And it certainly had a lot of controversy behind it. But Dustborn, by far, is the absolute worst.
Thank you, Brian, and Godspeed with The Last of Us. I hope it's good. I have no idea what the show. I see people making fun of the girl who plays Ellie all the time, and of
Bro,
course, Ellie was.
She has a forehead that's about as big as mine. All right.
The adaptation of Ellie is criticized relative to the video game Ellie that looked almost exactly like Ellen Page. In fact, there were lawsuits about the likeness. But now Ellen Page has become Elliot Page. So what's the difference anymore? Injured Guardian, read Joshua 21, Galatians 3, and the first of Thessalonians. Yeah. 2. Will do. I got we got some exciting new updates coming to my Bible study, which I won't get into now, but we're right at the end of Acts. We're going to have some changing of the guard at the Bible study. So we'll definitely be looking for new things to read.
I do highly recommend that y'all do look into the books of wisdom at some point.
Sure. Yeah. Well, it's a group thing. So join in on the Bible study and you can direct. You could even, you want to teach a lesson on it. I'll let you do that potentially. Now we got, long story short, our Bible study leader is stepping back. So we have a power vacuum and we're going to figure out who's kind of leading or how the Bible study is going to continue in the future.
That'll be interesting.
Injured Guardian, please keep the Matt and Blonde episodes numbered the same way. I have needed to cite you, her, or both. Sometimes episode numbers are easier than just titles. Well, they are just copied over as they existed on my channel. So those numbers are still on there and you can use them and they're not going to change. I don't plan to edit them in any way.
Yeah, and there's been quite a few people who are asking what happened to Blonde because they're late to the party.
Yeah.
And I've been wanting to refer them to the episode upon which you talked about it. I just couldn't remember the number.
It's the last episode of the show. If you want my perspective on everything that happened. It ended up being a 4-hour show because we took calls. In fact, I think you called in. I know you did because I remember you had some choice words.
I was talking some mad shit about the woman.
And then it ended up being a 4-hour stream because we had so many listener contributions to it. But the first half hour is sort of my understanding or my presentation of what happened there. VV, this is clarification on the prior super chat about which gun to buy. Home protection first, next gun will be a carry. Thanks for the answer. Love everyone in the chat. I'm a total noob, former lib. When I said that I lacked the information, what I mean is I've never shot Walther. So as someone who was not a big Glock fan to start, I have become a Glock fan, even though I don't personally carry Glock, but I own Glocks. I've become a Glock fan. I actually, who made me a Glock fan was
Come on, man.
Joe Biden, because Joe Biden tried to take away the ghost guns. And so I ended up learning how to build Glocks from parts because of their attempt to make those kits, legally guns and all that we talked about a few weeks ago with Liberty Doll. But once I had a little bit more appreciation for how simple the design is, how easily customizable it is, and frankly, how reliable the design is, even if sometimes they're not my favorite shooting experience. I mean, Glock is successful for a reason. And if I could only have one handgun, it probably would be a Glock, even if it's not my personal favorite shooting experience, because it's reliable and because the parts are everywhere. Like if we actually get into the Last of Us world where we're scavenging for things, I want the Glock. I want the Glock in 9mm probably because the ammo is going to be most common and because the parts are going to be available. So that would be my reason for, like, if I could only have one gun in a handgun format, that's probably what I'd pick.
Yeah, this is gonna shock the audience, but I'm kind of similar to Blonde when it comes to football talk, but instead change out for gun talk, right?
How dare you?
You start talking about guns, and it kind of. I'm not against, and look, I'm not one of those guys who's against it. It's just that it's not really kind of my interest. I do like the revolver, right?
Well, you're a swordsman, as you were saying.
Yeah, I like to stab rather than shoot, but I understand its importance, right?
Well, as KTLA says, anyway. Also as KTLA says, Elbot, thanks for supporting the show.
I am not going to be niggardly.
Appreciate you as always. Elbot is the real MVP. Yakko 1977. It's comical watching the same people who took part in Occupy Wall Street protests pretend to be concerned about Trump temporarily crashing the stock market. They got 401ks and now they care. You've seen this on both sides. I'm not trying to fence straddle here because I do agree there's a lot of it going on the left, but I do hate, and shout out to our friend Sean Fitzgerald, Actual Justice Warrior, because he keeps tweeting about exactly this. Like, there are people on the right and on the left that the stock market is fake and doesn't count and is only for rich people when it is not doing what you want it to do.
Yeah.
But the second that the stock market is doing what you want it to do, well, then it's like an accurate indicator of economic health, and we should all pay attention to it. And it either proves Trump's success if you want him to succeed, or Trump's failure if you want him to fail. So, of course, the stock market is an economic indicator. It is not the only one. And there are, as we've discussed, points for optimism in this economy beyond just the stock market volatility. We saw an unemployment report or an employment jobs numbers report that is that was better than expected. And so maybe there are signs of health beyond stock market volatility. But yeah, it is funny. People buy into it or don't based on political considerations, it seems.
As it always is.
Yeah, it's a tool in that regard. Dangerous Spaces says, please note every attempt was made to make the videos in the archive chronological. For some reason, the order of the videos occasionally became scrambled when uploaded. Apologies for that. Rumble does have some, as people who use Rumble know, some of the features are not as refined as they could be compared to YouTube. And so, yeah, so some of the episodes in the archive are slightly out of order, but of course Tim did his very best. And if you don't see it in the right order, it should be right there, close by. Ninja Kitty says, a special announcement. It's time that Furball went woke. The kitty now identifies as time-space continuum and uses now-then pronouns. Use them on the banhammer swings. I'd say it won't be long until we have time travel pronouns. So Godspeed in your adventures in the future and the past. Tim also says, have you seen all the people who decry January 6th? There's who have decried the attempts of violence against Trump and his administration. Like, give me a second. I'm sure I can find somebody. Well, I mean, this kid was an insurrectionist. He was plotting insurrection. Yeah, the concerns were tools too. I mean, they're political. Have to push back on Jon Patton a little bit. One, spinning your talking points is not always the same as lying. Two, what's the point of being completely open up front? The press lie what you say about them anyway. So I assume this would be like a more pro-Trump perspective on the tariff stuff, I think is the context in which that fits. There are sometimes advantages to being, if not truthful, like unpredictable in what you're going to do in a negotiation. I don't necessarily have a problem with that. You don't throw all your cards down on the table if that's what you're trying to do. My problem is not just that a lot of the misdirection and deception that's going on with the tariff communication, it's not just making other countries, putting them at a disadvantage in that negotiation, which we should want if we want America to be in the best position. It's oftentimes putting the American consumer and American business at a disadvantage because, as we were discussing, it's hard to make business moves or even day-to-day consumer decisions when you have no idea what's coming in the market tomorrow or next week, let alone next month or a half year from now. So that's why I'm not a fan of the communications method taken so far, but wouldn't be the first time I was proven wrong. And if I'm proven wrong to the benefit of the American people, of course, that is welcome news. Let's get a couple more over here on Odyssey, and then we'll hop back into the news. Blanket says, Matt, did you hear they're making a Hawk to a Girl documentary? I will not be watching that. Didn't she disappear after like scamming everyone on some coin?
Yeah. I've seen something about that, and she was trying to get it off the ground, and it turns out she scammed a lot of people.
And she just disappeared.
Yeah.
Matt, what do you think about Canadian bacon?
I'll allow it.
It's all right.
It's basically bologna.
No, it's better than bologna. Come on.
Okay, I can agree with that statement, but it's not bacon.
Does
it come from a pig?
Yeah, it's ham, is it not? Yeah, it definitely is.
Look, there's specific rules and guidelines when it comes to bacon. It has to be thin and in strips. Not a big slab of meat.
It can't be like a circular slice in that way.
No, that's the equivalent. That's the American Canadian version of bologna.
The only time I like Canadian bacon is on pizza with pineapple, and I know that's gonna upset people, but
no, pineapple definitely belongs on pizza, and I would die on that hill.
Okay, well then just get with Canadian bacon, and we're there.
No, fuck that. No.
Matt,
anything Canadian is bad.
What do you actually prefer, or what do you usually prefer, Mexican food or Italian food? Both are good, but I more commonly consume Mexican, depending on what you count as Mexican. Like, does Chipotle count as Mexican?
No,
kind of. But but yeah,
I've heard this thing before. There is the American Mexican version of Mexican food, and there's the Mexican version, right?
Yeah.
I've had it's not Mexican, but I had Guatemalan food before, and I had the tortilla rolls. Tastes like absolute shit, right? If you ever went to
that's why all those Guatemalans come here. They're coming here to get our Mexican food. It's way better.
It is. I will have to agree. If you ever go to a Guatemalan store near you, because I'm pretty sure they have them up there, right? Just go to one of the stores, get one of their tortillas, and just eat it plain. I guarantee you won't like it.
I can't say I've had a Guatemalan tortilla, so I'll have to take your word for it.
We got them a lot of them down here.
I would say we don't have Guatemalan food stores here, but then again, I see Tren de Aragua getting busted left and right in this town, so there's got to be some. I know they're Venezuelan,
stores,
but there's probably more Guatemalan influence than I realize.
Yeah, but we got a lot of them. The stores here, like fruit stores, convenience stores, and they just stay open indefinitely, and it's weird. There's got to be some kind of money laundering thing going on.
Well, I want to get back into the news, and I want to start with an update from Liz Collin over at Alpha News, of course, a guest of this show last month, when I had her on to discuss the defamation lawsuit that she was facing from Minneapolis Assistant Police Chief Katie Blackwell.
Yeah.
And so Liz and her company Alpha News, they made the 2023 documentary, The Fall of Minneapolis, which was all about George Floyd's death and all the riots and the Derek Chauvin trial afterward. And in that documentary, several personalities, including Liz herself, I believe, said things suggesting that Katie Blackwell had lied on the stand. This is the Minneapolis Assistant Police Chief. Now, she wasn't then, but she is now. That she had lied on the stand when she said that the Minneapolis Police Department did not train the restraint technique that Derek Chauvin used on George Floyd. They did. In fact, as part of this claim and this lawsuit, photos emerged of Katie Blackwell using the exact same restraint on a hockey rioter in 2014, kneeling on his neck or on his back. So as expected on Tuesday, a judge in Minneapolis, this is Edward Wall, dismissed that defamation lawsuit. So Katie Blackwell, the assistant police chief, was suing Liz Collin for defaming her, lying about calling her a liar, was essentially the claim of the lawsuit. And the judge dismissed the case with prejudice, meaning it's over. It cannot be refiled. But the judge, in announcing this decision, noted all the problems with the lawsuit that I discussed with Liz last month. Number one, the claims in the documentary are true, the judge said. Quote, they accurately reflect the gist of the available record. And if the statement is true, then by definition, it can't be defamatory. Truth is always a defense against a defamation claim. Number two, the statements are supported by evidence from MPD policies, training materials, and sworn officer declarations. So there's a bunch of evidence to support it. And three, the statements used qualifying language to make them opinions or interpretations, not provable falsehoods. Katie Blackwell's case had other problems, not just on the facts, but on the law in Minnesota too. Well, constitutional law in general, but Minnesota law specifically. Number one, she is a public figure. She's a public official in the police department. That means the standard for defamation that she would have to prove to win her case is actual malice. She would have to show that Liz Collin and Alpha News knew that what they were saying about her was false, but they said it anyway to damage her. And number one, it wasn't false. It was true. Number two, she didn't even get damaged. She got promoted within the police department. So neither component was there. And Minnesota has what's called an anti-slap law. This is a law to protect against frivolous or strategic lawsuits aimed at silencing First Amendment protected speech. So this, under that structure, the case is going to get dismissed unless the plaintiff can prove that she is likely to win. And of course, Katie Blackwell in this case could not prove that she's likely to win. So the dismissal went exactly as expected. Good for Liz Collin. But I want to propose the same questions I had with Liz Collin when she was on this stream, because I don't understand what Katie Blackwell was even trying to do here. She had no case from the start because the statements in the documentary were true, and Katie Blackwell knows they're true, and Katie Blackwell knows that Alpha News and Liz Collin have evidence to show that they're true. Katie Blackwell knew that the whole time and brought the lawsuit anyway. And then beyond just like the fact that you're not going to win, you want to talk about damage to Katie Blackwell. Katie Blackwell damaged herself by bringing this lawsuit. Through this lawsuit, we got sworn statements from a dozen or so Minneapolis police officers, current or former, saying under oath, Katie Blackwell's a liar. That's damaging to your reputation. We also got the evidence from the Minneapolis Police Department yearbook in 2014 of her doing the thing that she says the Minneapolis Police Department is not trained to do. That's damaging to her. The evidence was also images of the Minneapolis Police Department training other police officer prospects to do the technique. So her credibility, her reputation has been destroyed by her own inability to refrain from bringing this frivolous lawsuit. She has embarrassed herself. She has damaged herself. Why did she bring this lawsuit? Was it bad legal advice? Was it some kind of tactical error? This lawsuit, I was thinking about today, this is like storming a beach in Normandy with a fishing boat, okay? Like, you can do it. And maybe, never say never, but 99.9+% chance you're going to get shot in the face before you ever touch the sand. And Katie Blackwell did get metaphorically shot in the face, Normandy fishing boat style, by bringing this lawsuit. So why did I can't think of a rational reason why she would ever bring this lawsuit, knowing what she knew.
Oh no, the only thing I can think of is maybe she was banging the guy before he died.
George Floyd?
Yeah. I don't really know why else she were bringing this. I mean, it's typical woman in charge, right? They just do delusional things. Well, and I refuse to believe that she did that by herself. Like in that yearbook photo.
Oh, like maybe
there's got to be at least another dude helping her do that.
Someone got the guy to the ground and she's just finishing the job. Yeah.
Yes. Especially a hockey writer, there's no fucking way.
On your George Floyd theory, that would fit with the KTLA theory that they can explain everything with just one word. So maybe you're onto something.
Refer to the tweet.
Unanswerable questions, consult KTLA. They'll explain it to you.
Just refer to the tweet. See, look, I
need
told
a sign. Refer to the tweet.
Refer to the tweet. I told you,
Tap,
it's
tap.
perfect. It encompasses everything. It's all your questions.
Another quick story here. On Wednesday night, Anderson Cooper hosted a Bernie Sanders town hall on CNN.
Mm-hmm.
And somehow Bernie Sanders wasn't even the most embarrassing thing about the event. Anderson Cooper introduced a civil rights attorney to ask a question, and she corrected him on her pronouns.
We're back with Senator Bernie Sanders. I want to introduce Grace Thomas. She's a local civil rights attorney. She's a Democrat. Grace?
They them pronouns, actually. Thank you.
Oh.
Good evening, Senator Sanders. Polling and turnout data indicate that men of all racial demographics are turning away from the Democratic Party.
Exactly. Bernie Sanders' reaction is exactly how it looked when I first heard about this, right? It's like,
I didn't even see it. Did he make a confused old man face?
Yeah, he leaned in like he's like, "That's a they? What the fuck is he?" But this is the kind of culture that they cultivated, right? They advocate for this kind of thing. And the smugness of that young lady right there is
she's not young.
How old is she?
She looks pretty old, and well, I don't know. I could play it again if you want. I need to see the Bernie face.
Yeah, play it again. You'll see the
Bernie
face.
Sanders. I want to introduce Grace Thomas. She's a local civil rights attorney. She's a Democrat. Grace?
They them pronouns, actually. Thank you.
Oh.
Not that young.
Good evening, Senator Sanders.
Nah, she's ugly as fuck, bro.
Polling and turnout data indicate that men of all racial demographics are turning away from the Democratic Party.
It looks more like he's responding to her question, though. And her question, it's funny because it's self-answering. Hey, Bernie, why do you think young men are turning away from the Democrat Party? It's because of you, lady. It's
because of people like you.
You are asking men to upend the entire order of the English language to accommodate you with confusing plural pronouns to describe you, a singular individual. You want to figure out why men don't join your party anymore? Because they have to put up with you. That's why.
And she's a political activist, you said?
She's a civil rights lawyer.
I have to.
Sorry, they is a civil rights lawyer.
They is. My thing is that with the civil rights, why is this still a thing? The whole civil rights movement.
Well, why is the entire legal architecture still a thing? Yeah. I mean, the lawyers exist because the law exists and there's going to be litigation on that basis. I guess, is your question like, is the current legal system sufficient, or do you want to see it undone?
Well, if I wanted to go complete authoritarian, I would like to see a lot of these systems undone.
I think as they apply to private property, it's total bullshit. Now, the government exists to apply power to us and force to us in various ways. And even when justified to that extent, I don't believe in the government making discriminatory decisions in that way. But if I, like, at my private property, if I want to post the KTLA sign in the window and say, no KTLA people, yeah, I don't think that that's like a cool thing to do, but it's your property. And I don't think the state is justified in coming in and shutting down your business because you don't want to deal with KTLA incidents.
Yeah, and there's already companies that kind of do this. I know of certain clubs that only allow people 35 and up to go in, right? And then you also have certain clubs that have particular dress code. If you don't go in according to the dress code, they won't let you in.
Yeah, and people would say, oh, that's not the same. Why isn't it the same, though?
The principle is the same.
Yes.
Right? You're disallowing certain types of people from coming in based off your criteria.
I guess they would say in the wardrobe one that it's like a behavioral thing. It's not a like immutable characteristic thing.
No, yeah, some clubs have a theme and they require guests to dress as that theme. Otherwise, they'll take other people out of the experience. There are other clubs that allow certain age groups to go in there because young folks like me refer to the tweet, aka people my skin color and younger act a damn fool all the time.
I guess, yeah, same in principle, like you're saying.
Yeah, refer to the tweet.
Yeah, refer to the tweet. So, yeah, I mean, let's put it this way. Do I believe the woman in this clip is creating a bunch of valuable productivity for this country? No, I guarantee you this woman is filing the same sort of lawsuits that Katie Blackwell is filing. Total wastes of time that reduce productivity, that take away value, but enrich lawyers and law offices with a bunch of nonsense lawsuits that don't need to exist. I want to get into, I got to go to Whitmer. Right. I almost skipped over Whitmer. Let's get to Whitmer.
All right.
Because, you mentioned whether this photo was real or not. It is.
Yeah, I thought that was a totally AI generated thing like you usually do.
This moment with Whitmer in the White House was bizarre for several reasons. So Gretchen Whitmer, of course, the Michigan governor, she and several Michigan officials visit the White House this week for a scheduled closed door meeting with Trump and others. They're going to talk about Michigan business and defense assets, including an Air National Guard base, all of this in the context of, I guess, tariffs and ongoing negotiations and all that. So Gretchen Whitmer, according to her side of the story, says she goes there expecting to have a closed door meeting with Trump about these things. And so supposedly unbeknownst to her, she's then shuffled into the Oval Office in public view while Trump holds a news conference, and she is clearly visible to everybody, reporters included. And so the first strange thing about this meeting is that Trump comes out and says how awesome she is. Trump is saying that she's a great person who has done a great job.
We're honored to have Gretchen Whitmer from Michigan, great state of Michigan, and she's really done an excellent job and a very good person.
Well, I have to disagree with that.
No, goes without saying.
He was just being nice. He was just doing pleasantries. You know, the look on his face said, "I have to say this shit in order to be nice, so everybody won't slay me out there in the news organization."
I won't waste time explaining why Gretchen Whitmer is not a good governor or a good person. I've discussed many examples counter to that claim. But so maybe it's just pleasantries, like you're saying. Maybe there's a strategic angle, because now that Gretchen Whitmer is seen as being friendly with Trump, she's getting ripped by her own party for allowing Trump to use her as a prop for the illusion of bipartisanship. Yeah. And so maybe Trump is being strategic. Like, maybe if I say nice things about her, they'll hate her, and she's one of the front runners for their party leadership and presidential candidacy and all that. So
there's that 4D chess again.
Maybe he's just being nice. Maybe there is a strategy. But the second strange thing is that Whitmer hid her face behind folders or papers. Now, this meeting happened on Wednesday. We didn't see this photo until a New York Times report yesterday. And we got photographers in the Oval Office. She blocks her face with these folders of these papers. Now, I'm going to take even the kindest interpretation of what she's doing here. And let's say it was just a joke. Like, oh man, I can't believe I'm here with Trump. Oh, block your face like it's a gag.
Mm-hmm.
Even if it was just silliness, momentary, like for a moment, it's still a problem politically. Number one, the punchline of the joke here, if this was a joke, the punchline is cowardice, not courage. If you're at the White House, you're at the White House for a reason. You're the governor of a state. Stand by the reason. Don't submit to the bullies. Say, yeah, I know we don't like Trump, but guess what? We have important things to accomplish in service to the American people. Let's put aside the personal pettiness and let's get it done. And if you have a problem with that, okay, vote me out of office, but I'm not up for re-election for a while, so deal with it. Have some courage to just stand your ground, lady. You're there for a reason. Stand your ground. But number two, hiding in this way, even if it's joking, the punchline is still, you're willing to deceive the public. Well, sure, I'm willing to have a closed door meeting with Trump and talk about these important things because that's my job. But I'm not willing to do that publicly. Publicly, I have to repeat the Democrat Party line that Trump is Orange Hitler, and we have to oppose him and never talk to him. Can't be associated with him in any way. It's not just cowardly; it's deceptive in that way too. And I mean, Gretchen Whitmer's a long way away from a presidential run. Do I think that this is going to be like political ads in 2028? Maybe it's not that damaging. But I think that this is more than just a joke. I think this is revealing of bad political instincts and just bad political leadership. So I think it matters in that regard. She should have held up the KTLA tweet. What do you got?
In this case, don't refer to the tweet. I don't know why she would.
It would have been better if she did.
Yeah, but I don't, like you said before, I don't know why she would just hide her face. Even if it was a joke, I mean, why do it, right?
Yeah, I don't.
She could probably just come up with an excuse saying, "Oh, I had to sneeze, so I had to just kind of cover my face and just sneeze into my arm or something."
That would have been even worse. Hachoo, 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 hachoo. Yeah. No.
Like, did she just hold it there for a
I don't know. It's just a photo. As far as I'm aware, there's no video, so I don't know that we have a confirmation of the duration that she held up this folder.
Because a skilled photographer can take the perfect shot at the right moment, right?
They're probably just snap, snap, snap. They're just running.
Yeah.
You know, they're taking 1,000 of them.
But,
anyway, I have an update in the saga of the trans murder cult, the Zizians, as well.
They're all horrendous.
Yeah, I don't know which one we're even talking about in this case. But of course, the Zizian transgender murder cult is responsible for several murders across the country in recent years. There was that Border Patrol agent in Vermont in January. There was their elderly landlord in the Bay Area of California. I think that was also January. And that was just this year. There were other ones before that. On Tuesday morning, 5 Zizians appeared in courtrooms across the country. The Solano Superior Court in California, that was the venue for Alexander Latham and Surrey Dow. Now, Maximilian Snyder is the one on the bottom middle, so that's not Surrey Dow. I don't know which one, if any of these, are Alexander Latham and Surrey Dow, but these are some of the Zizians. And both of these two are on trial in the Bay Area for trying to kill their landlord. But what happened, they went after their landlord with a samurai sword. They stabbed him, but he shot one of them dead. And so these two are facing not just attempted murder charges, but murder charges, because with the Zizian who was killed, they're charging them for the murder because in doing the attack, the law treats them as responsible for the death. So that's why the murder here. The murder of the murder of the landlord guy is a separate thing. But okay, so they bring in this Alexander Latham, who's one of these Zizian trannies, who's in a wheelchair, I believe from getting shot in that encounter, got shot in self-defense, is in a wheelchair, is now wheeled into the courtroom to face the charges for that event. And during this court hearing, armed officers, they attempted to bring Latham into the courtroom. He was handcuffed in a wheelchair. And he was repeatedly claiming that the officer told him he deserved to be shot for being transgender. And he also yelled, "The court has been hormonally detransitioning me for a quarter of a decade," so like 2 years since his arrest, as part of a state-sponsored conversion therapy program.
I dare you, fucking bitch!
He also added the Jussie Smollett classic,
I am not suicidal!
over and over again, and the judge put him in an isolation room where he can watch the court proceedings on camera and be seen on camera, but he can't, his mic is muted. He can't communicate. Now, as far as his claim of being not suicidal, the statistics would tell us otherwise with the transgender community, of course. But, claiming you killed You tried to kill, and then your group ultimately did kill an 80-year-old man who was kind enough to let you use his property. You did it with a samurai sword, or at least tried to. They got him a different way later, I guess.
Yeah.
And then you're getting due process at trial, which you're entitled to. But killing an elderly man and getting a fair trial for it while still claiming victimhood. They're detransitioning me. This is all part of an anti-gay, anti-trans agenda. Man, this is victimhood level 9,000. This is really impressive. Like you're a straight up murderer. If you didn't succeed, you tried. You're only not a murderer because of your own incompetence, and you're still blaming everybody else.
This whole thing is crazy, man. Back in the good old days, you should just hang them high, you know?
Well, they still do that with the trannies. It's just they do it to themselves, you know? They still hang high. Yeah.
What has to go through their mind for people to do this kind of thing? A transition death cult, right?
Well, yeah. I mean, when God is totally absent from your life, and I don't even mean that strictly in a scriptural sense necessarily, although of course I believe that and believe it should be promoted. I just mean like when the natural order of the world, the natural law of the world is absent from your life, and you believe not in natural law, an objective framework that governs all of us. You believe that you are the architect of the rules around you, and that you can just redesign them on demand, including like redefining your own gender, and redefining the application of the law to you. I mean, I don't know what caused each one of these individual people to get wrapped up in this, but I would be comfortable speculating that it results from a cascading chain of dominoes that starts with premise one of like denying fundamental truth about the world. There is natural law. There is a God who is an author of that. Deny that and believe yourself to be your own author of your own world. You start writing crazy stories like these.
We've reached full insanity in this world.
Oh, no, we haven't. They have much more. Just wait.
They have much more.
Yeah.
Just when you thought you've seen it all. I mean, what else can be said about this group? Other than we have a transgender death cult, the Zizians, first of all.
I mean, what I would say is I know you're a blade guy, not a gun guy. Get yourself a samurai sword to defend yourself against Ziz attacks. It's going to be sword on sword for you. All right. Stand by for cough break really quick.
Okay.
Okay.
We're almost there. Just hang on just a little bit.
That was a rough one.
That's disgusting.
All right. I got some DOGE news as well.
All right, lay it on me.
So this week, the DOGE team announced another example of what they say is mass scale fraud and or abuse. This time it's millions of dollars in unemployment claims going to, they say, fake people who aren't even born yet. Labor Secretary Lori Chavez DeRemer presented these findings to Trump on Thursday. The claim is that since 2020, 9,700 people whose birth dates are in the future, at least 15 years from now, have claimed $69 million in benefits. This on top of 25,000 people who are over 115 years old getting $59 million in benefits, and 28,000 people between 1 and 5 years old getting $254 million in benefits. In one case, someone with a birthday in 2154 claimed $41,000. So I assume Marty McFly is his name. Congratulations to Marty, and I hope he shares his earnings with Doc. But we saw some of this before. The DOGE team had said that they had identified a whole bunch of people in the Social Security database who were 1 million years old. Well, we talked about that weeks ago.
Yeah.
In that case, they didn't show evidence of those people actually collecting benefits. That could be just terrible government record keeping, which is its own problem, but people aren't necessarily cashing in on that problem, at least according to the information they provided. In this case, at least if what they're saying is true, it's beyond just bad government record keeping. These people are collecting benefits based on what's going on here. Now, is that like intentional fraud, deception? Is that just bad government record keeping and mistakes? Either way, it has to be corrected, of course. But even if it's just like bad government record keeping, I typed in a 5 when I meant a 1 or whatever. How is there not a system in place that scans the information for what is plausible and flags information that is clearly not plausible? Like, you can't collect benefits if you were born in 2154. The fact that the government doesn't have a system to identify such cases like that is a problem on its own. Now, the reason I bet that a lot of these are mistakes and not necessarily intentional schemes or fraud necessarily is because if you are trying to defraud the government or anybody, you provide information that is plausible. You don't make an obviously fake birth year like 2154. It's like, yeah, I was born in 1991, whatever. You know, like, who cares? But it's got to be a plausible one. So that's, and it could be a mix of both. Like, you could have fraudsters and bad government record keeping. Whatever's happening here, data are clearly incorrect. At worst, it's fraud. At best, it's government mistake. So either way, you got to get this problem fixed. But what do you think? You think this is explained by government incompetence, or we got a lot of like COVID era fraudsters cashing in on unemployment claims?
I think it is a little of both. And my question is, the department, are they punishing people for this?
Well, if they you would think that if they have evidence of an actual defrauding, they would refer that to the Justice Department to prosecute. And that's one of the biggest criticisms of DOGE. And again, I like DOGE. I think DOGE is doing great things.
Yeah.
I'm not saying boo DOGE. I am saying that if you have evidence of crimes, those people need to be prosecuted. And as far as I'm aware, we have not seen DOGE prompted prosecutions.
Yeah, so they're just finding all this money lying around everywhere from these different departments and being sent off to these different countries. And then you have fraud like this, where there's evidence of it, and yet nothing is being done about it. So the attitude, at least for me, will be like, okay, that's horrible and that sucks, right? But nobody's being punished for this. So you're finding all this money, you're finding all this fraud, you know where it's coming from. And you can definitely find out who's behind it and everything. Because if I make a mistake on my tax returns, they know who I am, where I'm at, what I'm currently doing, and everything.
Oh, you know who's behind it.
Yeah.
Refer to the tweet.
Yeah, refer to the tweet.
Yeah,
that's exactly why. But I mean, who's the secondary guy in charge? Was it Vivek? Is he also in charge?
Well, Vivek has stepped out of it because he's running for Ohio governor. So Vivek was like in the early stages of it during the campaign. But as far as I'm aware, during the Trump presidency, Vivek has not been a part of DOGE at all, really.
All right. But the overall question is, you're finding all this stuff. You know who's doing it. And you're letting the American people know where all our money is going, but you're not punishing anybody. So why should I care? I'm still getting screwed over.
People are getting fired, I guess, is the best you can say. We're cutting these jobs.
Here's the biggest issue I have with our country right now, right? And this is going to sound really extreme. Some examples need to be set. Either you throw these people in jail or have them duly executed.
Hang them high, says Joshy Boy. Put them up there with the Zizians.
Exactly. I'm sick of this shit. And because it was like, well, they're just fired. And most people, especially people in government who get away with this stuff, they just get off of it with a slap on the wrist or scot-free. No punishment happens.
No, they actually get paid to do it. They get a severance package.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I guarantee you, if you just allow a few heads to roll, this will stop.
Metaphorically, right? Roger.
In Minecraft.
You know, I'm glad you said Minecraft. That because in Minecraft, it's one of your catchphrases, I think. And I had to get a new video game to play with my son over the last few days during my sickness, and I've never played Minecraft. So we actually tried Minecraft, and I built him a cool house on the shore of a lake in the woods. But are you an actual Minecraft player, or do you just... No,
I actually do play Minecraft.
I don't get it. Like, my mistake was I started in survival mode instead of what is the other mode?
No, you have hardcore and creative. You should have started in creative so you can learn how the game works.
I switched. I played like 10 minutes in survival and ran around a bizarre desert landscape.
Oh,
and then I was like, what is this? I don't even get it. And then I found some internet advice to the point you're making. You got to start in creative. And at least in creative, I could build my son a cool house with a bed and a fireplace and a nice lakeshore view. But I still don't get it. I do not understand the point of Minecraft.
I'm going to explain. You understand the term sandbox, right?
Yeah, open world game environment. Yeah.
Yeah. Basically, just do whatever you want. You can do whatever you want to do. That's the whole point of Minecraft. They're
But
trying to make
it's building stuff. It's not anything. You got to build something.
Yeah. I mean,
but so it's still it's it's building Legos brick by brick.
Yes.
Okay.
Bro, I'll talk to you about it later.
All right.
But that's basically the whole concept is being able to do whatever you want.
Yeah, you talk about getting bored with gun talk, and here we are.
Shut up, faggot.
That's the entire audience. But Minecraft.
Well, I'm a massive fag.
Anyway, okay, we'll table the Minecraft discussion for now. Getting back into it, to your point on fraud, there is some circumstantial evidence for fraud here, and that is to say, if it was all mistakes, like I was entertaining, you should see that pretty evenly split across states. Mm-hmm. Like mistakes are going to happen everywhere, and they should happen in rough proportion to the populations of the states. According to Elon Musk and DOGE, it's disproportionately in 3 states: California, New York, and Massachusetts. And of course, California and New York and Massachusetts to a lesser extent are massive population states. Mm-hmm. So are we talking about per capita here or percentage? Or are we talking about raw number of suspect cases? If it's raw number, then maybe it's not weird to see more in California than other places. But according to the numbers Musk is providing, it is quite disproportionate. So in the total number for these suspected unemployment fraud cases or mistake cases, $382 million since 2020. Mm-hmm. $305 million of that is in just those 3 states. So something like whatever, 2/3 of the money, 3/4 of the money is in just those 3 states. And according to this analysis, California accounted for 68% of the unemployment benefits paid to people on the terrorist watch list or with criminal records. Now, I don't like or trust the concept of a federal government terrorist watch list. However, what do I trust more, the federal government terrorist watch list or the state of California to handle anything? It's a rock and a hard place there. Can't really make a selection. So that definitely could be as bad as advertised. But in a related story about government inefficiency and waste, and this is related to your point about what happens next, well, the government is so inefficient that it potentially can't even handle the volume of DOGE layoffs. And so the federal government's unemployment system itself will potentially be overwhelmed. The federal government has its own unemployment system called the Unemployment Compensation for Federal Employees, or UFCE program. Jesus. So if you're a federal worker who gets laid off, you don't necessarily have to go down to your local unemployment office. There is an existing federal unemployment program that pays out to you until you find a new job or for a defined period of time. Now, according to a progressive think tank called the Century Foundation, now that program is going to be overwhelmed with claims from laid off federal workers. So, more than the numbers are this: more than 62,000 federal workers across 17 agencies have been let go in just February alone.
Good. Yes.
So it's probably a lot more than that when you factor in March and the full Trump presidency. But the point is, even when these federal workers get fired or laid off, apparently we still have to pay them to do nothing. So they were fired because their jobs do nothing. And then there's a backup federal unemployment system that still pays them to do more nothing other than find their own job elsewhere. But the hilarious thing, the government system to take care of them, to pay these people who have been laid off, that itself is so old and inefficient that it might not even work for that task. And I just find this story to be perhaps the most government story ever to government.
But yeah, now that you say it that way, that might have been the true intent.
What do you mean?
To overwhelm that system to the point where they can't even help anyone.
Were they ever helping in the first place? Has a federal worker ever been laid off or fired at any point to make a claim at this office? What did this office do? That's the Office Space quote is the analysis for all the DOGE stuff. What would you say you do around here? If you work at the federal government unemployment office, like you're the one who gives the benefits to the laid off federal workers. Mm-hmm. Now, I know I'm exaggerating when I say none have been laid off ever, but what are the numbers in recent years pre-DOGE? How common are federal firings or layoffs? I bet they're not nearly as common as they are in the private sector. I'd be comfortable speculating that. You delete one government job and the sky is falling, Chicken Little. They're all just freaking out.
That's a good point.
Anyway.
Well, they sit around doing nothing. Now they get to sit around being paid more to do nothing.
But at least there's a clock this time. It's going to run out. All right, I got some hoax hate for you. Ready?
All right, lay it on me.
And now the nobody saw it happen, but it's totally a product of Trump's America hoax hate crime of the week.
Ah, shit, it's backwards. You think they'll notice?
Recall the story of Austin Meltcalf and Carmelo Anthony. Again, refer to the tweet from KTLA.
Refer to the tweet.
Carmelo entered a rival school's tent and at the high school track meet. And Austin told him to leave, and Carmelo dared him to make him leave. And then there was some sort of confrontation, and Carmelo stabbed Austin in the heart, and he died. And this story to the racial activists has to be a case of self-defense now. Carmelo fans are not just arguing the point of like who initiated the physical confrontation, which is at least, I mean, I don't agree that there's a case there, because if you go to a place you don't belong and start provoking, as Carmelo Anthony did, according to witness statements, you can't make a self-defense claim. But at least it's like within plausibility that you're saying, well, whoever initiated the physical confrontation is at fault, and Austin Meltcalf appears to have initiated the physical confrontation. That I can listen to. But the racial activists are going so far beyond that point that they have to fake evidence to make this a justified killing, a justified case of self-defense for Carmelo Anthony. They're faking social media posts that Austin Meltcalf supposedly made that he never, in fact, made. So among them circulating this week, Austin is alleged, I think I have a bigger version of it here. Austin, that one doesn't have the text. Let me bring this up. Maybe I can zoom in if you can't see it. Austin, it won't get bigger, whatever. Austin Meltcalf, according to this fake post, is alleged to have displayed an AR and a Glock and said, "I dare one of those monkeys to show up to the track meet today."
Come on, man.
Now, I have some thoughts. Number one, even if this post was authentic and Austin Meltcalf actually posted it, it still doesn't justify the killing. It would still be murder. But two, would Austin or anyone rational really be surprised to see black people at a track meet? Again, tap the sign, tap the tweet, see the KTLA wisdom. You're going to see them. You're going to see them at a track meet, man. It's like going to a basketball game. This is an arena in which they excel. You're going to see
them all their lives running from dogs and police for that moment.
So I have a hard time believing that Austin Meltcalf was daring monkeys to show up to a track meet.
That's the only thing we excel in, running away.
I dare one of them to attempt fast running like that. And then number three, if Austin dared black people to present themselves at this track meet, and he had his AR and his Glock as mechanisms that would protect against that, why didn't he use this AR or this Glock to take out that monkey on sight or defend himself from primate aggression since these weapons were in his possession? And that's the thing that's so sick about this. Like, it's not bad enough to murder a teenager, which happened here.
Yes.
I believe, according to the facts. There'll be a trial to evaluate that. But I believe it was a case of murder. Now we're going to fake evidence to make that murdered kid, that murdered 17-year-old, some kind of racist who deserved it, because we have this need to make it a justified case of self-defense in pursuit of a racial agenda. We have to make that dead kid a racist, even though there's no evidence to support racism on his part. And they're also have fake posts about it being, they're saying he George Floyded himself. It was some kind of drug overdose. They've made fake posts about that. They've made fake posts of the county medical examiner and the sheriff saying, that was the medical examiner post that was fake. It was about the drug overdose. They've faked a post from the local police chief saying that Metcalf sucker punched Carmelo Anthony, and then it became a case of mutual combat in which Carmelo Anthony was justified. Just lies and lies and lies to defame this dead kid. And it's really unfortunate. But
now, you have more?
No, that's it. That's all I got.
Okay, I kind of want to harken back on what Ratchet Republican was saying, I think Wednesday, correct? When
Uh-huh.
he did a call in. And asking why would a kid bring a knife into a track meet in the first place? Now, I've been to quite a few track meets, shocker. If
Refer
you're
to the sign, refer to the tweet.
yeah,
Yeah.
refer to the sign, right? Yeah, refer to the tweet. The thing is that if you're there at a track meet, you know where your school is. Even if you got lost, schools usually identify themselves with team colors, right? And plus, if you go to the same school as everybody else would, you will immediately recognize that I don't see any of my classmates or teammates here. I must be at the wrong place. This spells intent for me, right?
Yeah,
And
I don't
the
even.
other,
I know that carrying a knife was supposedly against the rules. Like you can't do that at a school event or whatever. I actually don't care about carrying the knife. I care about brandishing the knife and making threatening statements related to the knife about effing around and finding out and that sort of stuff.
yeah.
But the presence of the knife itself is like, okay, is it odd to bring that to a track meet? Yeah, probably. It's probably not commonly in a track bag or a gym bag.
Yeah.
But that the carrying of the knife to me itself is not criminal. The criminal act is provoking someone into a physical confrontation and then stabbing him in the heart. That's the problem. It's not the presence of the knife per se.
Yeah. So a speculation that I have of why something like this would even occur is something that I wanted to kind of comment on Ratchet Republican. He was talking about the cultivation of a culture, right? And he was trying to make it sound like it's not genetics, it's how our culture operates, and that's how what has been cultivated over the years, right? Because despite what the dad, and I'm still pissed off at the dad and how he handled the situation, was trying to be, he says this isn't a race thing, and I don't want people saying it's a race thing. Look, a black kid murdered a white kid. It's gonna be a race thing, right? The only speculations that I have is the fact that within the black community, we're basically taught to fear white people for whatever reason, right? And then you also have vice versa when it comes to white neighborhoods. You are being taught to fear black people. And this kind of creates kind of this tension, right?
There's like an ingrained fear for your life, regardless of the actions of another person, I guess is what you're saying. That doesn't justify the killing, of course, but it helps.
No, it doesn't.
Yeah, it helps you understand the mindset potentially.
Yeah, and so I mean, most of my life, I can speak from personal experience. It's never been white people to tell me that I can't do something because I'm black. It's been other black people.
Sounds about right. Yeah.
Yeah. They'll even tell you that, like, for example, I want to travel into different parts of the state, right? Or even to different states. He says, well, don't go here because I don't like black people over there.
Yeah.
Or be careful because they do things to black people. And I was like, I'm sorry, I almost, the N word, referred to tweet, almost slipped out. But
yeah.
I was like, the question is asked, have you been to these places, right? Have you gone there? How do you know this? And they'll say no. And it's like, then how can you tell me that they don't like black people if you've never actually been over there yourself? They try to cultivate this constant state of fear, right? Or fear or unwarranted hatred, as I like to call it. It's still not a justification to murder the guy. But it's just, I just wanted to comment on that.
I could, even though, of course, I don't think it justifies the behavior, to the extent the propaganda runs deep, I could sympathize with the mindset a little bit if it wasn't for the acts of aggression that he committed. That is to say, if you're just a black person who has been propagandized to this effect your entire life, I understand why you might have like an irrational fear of white people in the way that you're describing. But that irrational fear should prompt you to avoid them, not go like confront and heckle and challenge. And that's what, in his case, it makes me have a hard time thinking that's what applied. Like if it was fear-based, why wasn't his fear instinct to just go away?
And that's the other thing. I probably should have clarified a bit more. It's also kind of an unwarranted hatred towards them. So you want to prove to yourself that you're strong and everything, or a tough guy, or you hate white people or whatever. Maybe that was also taught into you, and so your first act is just simply murder a guy.
Well, yeah, or to bait him into bait him into having, I would say, to defend his group and himself from your aggression, and then use that as a pretense to stab him. But there'll certainly be updates in this story going forward because it's that's going to be a trial to watch.
I will say. I absolutely hate how people are trying to defend the Camilla guy.
They're desperate. And that's the thing. It's like, there's one thing where you're making a desperate case based on the facts. All right, I might not like that, but at least you're grounded in the facts as we understand them. This like make shit up about stuff he posted or about claims other people have made. I have no patience for this. I mean, this is evil stuff insofar as it is smearing a dead kid in pursuit of your agenda. And if your politics or your ideological perspective are more important than just having a baseline level of respect for a murdered teenager you don't even know, you're twisted. Something's wrong with you.
And I know far too many people like that. They'll take this situation as well. He shouldn't have done this. It's like, dude, murdered. If the roles were reversed, you would want this kid in jail.
You know what would have happened if the roles were reversed? KTLA would have been tweeting it because they would have been in action. Let me tell you.
Would have been in action. The whole 9 yards.
Instead, the streets were legitimately mostly peaceful, or entirely peaceful. But I got a classic for you. Okay, this time KTLA didn't tweet it. As always, someone just wrote it. Someone just wrote it in the street with spray paint. But this is in New Jersey. The town is Hillsdale, New Jersey. And this guy's name, okay, I don't want to make you defend names every time you're on. Did we talk about the apostrophes last time?
Jamal Hardy?
It's not Jamal. It's Jama. Jama.
Come on, man.
You can't. Jama. Yes, his name is Jama Hardy. And Raisa Hardy. I think they're husband and wife. I don't know.
Excuse me?
Raisa.
That thing is in a... Scroll down just a little bit so I can see if you're lying to me. No, I mean up. Go up.
This woman or what?
Yeah, I was trying to see the name, but the little box thing was blocking it.
Let me see if I can get this out of here. I don't think that's blocking any text, though.
Raisa.
Raisa and Jama. Not Jamal, not Jemima, Jama. Okay. Anyway, they discovered... Sorry, you have thoughts?
These can't be African names because I've never heard of African names like that. This is some made up ghetto bullshit.
I don't remember any Jamas in The Lion King. All right, they had legit ones in that movie. All right. Yes, they discovered the KTLA tweet painted in the street outside their home.
As you can see, this is the lettering of the N-word. That they spray painted.
The faded outline of the racial slur faintly visible on Raisa and Jama Hardy Street, right across from their Hillside, New Jersey home.
We never had any issues with anyone in the area. We have always been welcomed in the community.
Police are calling this a bias-related criminal mischief incident, asking anyone with information to come forward. This video capturing the hateful word we're blurring out. Firefighters tried to use a hose but couldn't get the paint fully off.
It was plural too.
DPW, they're trying to remove the residue off of the asphalt.
The couple also saying they're overwhelmed by the support from neighbors in this diverse section of the township.
Loads of comments of support have been coming in, and I'm just really, really grateful. It's just a shame that we're here in 2025 still dealing with this.
The Hardys say police have one piece of evidence, the spray can abandoned around the corner in bushes.
I guarantee it was another N-word referred to the tweet.
I guarantee it was them, personally.
Yeah, referred to the tweet.
No, I have to couch that. I have to qualify that so I don't get a defamation lawsuit. I am strongly suspicious that they are the culprits. But yes, plural N-words. Saw the S there, and that's because it's Jama and Raisa living at that house. So I'm glad they were grammatically specific.
Yes. I can't explain why. It's just funny when it's plural.
It is funnier. I don't know what I invite people, if people have theories as to why, I invite your explanation. Now, this just seems like your generic canned store brand hoax hate crime we've seen a million times. I think it is, but I want to be fair in my characterization. I did not see any GoFundMe account, any effort at personal enrichment. So if this is a hoax, maybe it's just like an attention play, a sympathy play, some other motive behind this act. But I got something a little bit more fresh because we've seen that same story a million different ways.
Mm-hmm.
How about this one? At New York University, the Muslim prayer room was vandalized, and the NYPD Hate Crime Task Force is already deployed to investigate. Now, Faiz Jaffer, I think is how you say that. I don't. Speaking of difficult names, Faiz Jaffer or Jaffer?
Jaffer. I think it's Jaffer. Yeah.
This is the school's chaplain. It says, quote, "This was not simply an act of vandalism. It was a malicious and deeply disrespectful attack driven by anti-Muslim hatred." Okay, but how do we know, though? Not just because we don't know who did it yet. But there's nothing about the vandalism itself that is explicitly anti-Muslim. So what is the vandalism? Well, can you tell what that is?
It looks like a dick.
That's disgusting.
It's a giant dick drawn on the wall. As this NBC reporting characterizes.
Oh, wait. I know why it's offensive. It's an uncircumcised dick.
I was going to say it looked, it's not clear. It looks circumcised to me, but I don't know. Anyway, the New York, the reporting in the NBC report here says that the vandalism appears to include a large drawing of a phallus. So you're correct, but it's not just that. That's not the extent of the vandalism. There's also a wet stain near the prayer mats that they believe to be urine.
I guarantee you it was a drunk guy.
Someone peed near the prayer mat.
Somebody must have been pissing drunk and just urinated right there on the prayer mat.
Well, that's okay. This looks like generic college hijinks. Maybe a Muslim variant, like all the Muslims got together and had a drink or two, and someone drew a giant dick on the wall, and another guy peed on the floor because he didn't know where he was. That is every bit. That's probably the most plausible explanation for what happened here. How are we making this a national news story in NBC and getting the NYPD Hate Crime Task Force to be deployed based on zero evidence of any kind of hateful motive, based only on the fact that it happened at a perceived minority space? It happened at the Muslim prayer room. But if this happens in a dorm room, if someone just draws a dick on the wall and pees on the floor in a dorm room, that's not a hate crime. Why?
Well, unless it's filled with referred to the tweet. Then it makes national news.
I guess, yeah. So I've never seen a giant dick drawn on the wall and pee on the floor hate crime story before.
Man, they should go to a gas station bathroom. They got all kinds of stuff up in there.
Now, we've every gas station bathroom is a hate crime scene according to this logic. You're right. We spent the night talking about how plural is funnier.
Yes.
But in the case of a teacher in Georgia, he wrote the singular for reasons I can't understand. I think it's clearly visible in the video I'm about to show. This one's not a hoax. This isn't like hate, I don't think. There's some context here that we're missing to explain the behavior, and I can't figure out what it is. But this is on video, so it's not fake. This is Walton County, Georgia. It's between Atlanta and Athens. A man described as a school staff member. I would assume teacher, but maybe he's not like a full-on teacher. Maybe he's a substitute teacher. He appears to be teaching in this moment. He's speaking in front of a class full of kids.
Yeah.
Video emerged of showing him writing the N-word on the board in front of the whole class. And again, it's hard R, but singular. Here's the full video that is available on Facebook. N-I-G-G-E is on the board. And he did it. He wrote it. That was it.
It was just kids having fun. Like,
I assumed that maybe they're playing Hangman or something like that, but I didn't see the Hangman drawing, you know?
No, it's written more like a kind of a Jeopardy kind of thing.
They're clearly putting him up to it. Not that I think like, okay, if you're a bad teacher who engages in degeneracy in the classroom because the kids told you to, you're still a bad teacher. So just because the kids are cheering it on doesn't mean that the teacher is justified. But clearly there's something going on there. They're playing a game and the kids want him to complete whatever act in this game by writing the R.
Yeah. And he actually, the students were supposed to engage as well because he said R because he was giving them a countdown.
Yeah.
So yeah, this was clearly a game, right? How am I not offended by this kind of stuff? And
you know what? I was thinking it might have been a literary lesson. They were the class is studying Huck Finn, and his question of the day was, what was Jim's nickname in the novel? And they're Hard R. That's right. He was Hard R Jim. You know, but I looked it up to make sure that that's correct. I don't know if I've read Huck Finn, to be completely transparent. Did you know that Huck Finn, as originally written, N-word Jim is only called N-word Jim one time, because N-word Jim is a slave who's seeking to escape on the Mississippi River, but they only call him N-word Jim once.
I did not know. Even if I did, I probably wouldn't remember it. It's probably part of my English class. We read a lot of books way back when. But if that's be the case, I mean, if they're just reading a book and doing that, that's nothing new. I did that in high school.
I don't know. There's got to be some explanation that we're missing. But
even if, man, people do this kind of thing all the time, and it always makes national news when people get so appalled. Like, oh man, you said the N-word. And it says, brother, we say it all the time. It's in the songs, it's on bathroom stalls. I think I read a comment once. We live in a country where a word can undo somebody's career. A singular word can undo somebody's career.
Yeah.
And that's it.
Well, supposedly because a single word can ruin the day or life of a person who hears it. But we used to be a sticks and stones country. Sticks and stones may break my bones. Words can never hurt me. Now words can end your life. Words can be justification to ruin someone else's life. Yeah. Crazy times. But okay. I actually did not intend for all of these to be refer to the tweet stories. I really did not. But okay, here's our last
refer to the tweet story day.
Here's our last refer to the tweet story of the night. Well, it's happened again. Okay. This is another fraudulent transgender blowy turned violent for this unfortunate KTLA tweet member. As always, I don't want to repeat this every time in detail, but just so people understand, whenever people claim that transgender people are disproportionately targeted for violence, number one, statistically, that's not true. Transgender people are murdered at a lower rate than the general population, according to the statistics from the activists themselves. Number two, of the violence that does occur, it is very often in retaliation for fraudulent sexual relations. Transgender person performs a sex act on a man. Man learns that she is in fact a he, and then man beats the other man's ass, and sometimes he kills him. And so if trannies could stop misrepresenting themselves as women as a means for access to sex when they perform these sex acts on men, a lot of this unfortunate violence could end. Okay.
Yes.
Headline, KCTV5 in Kansas City. Hate crime charges considered for KC man after attack on transgender woman. And man, isn't this a rough one? You get deceived into fraudulent services. In a rage, you retaliate, and not only are you charged, but you're gonna get a hate crime charge because, of course, you did it because she is transgender.
Oh wow!
So who attacked whom is very debatable here, as is often the case in these stories, which I'll discuss in a moment. But contrary to the headline, the attack, as they're characterizing it, is not in fact against a woman. Joe Quinn Moore. What the? You ever heard Joe Quinn?
No.
Joe Quinn Moore is 26 years old, and he has been charged in connection to this possible hate crime. So Joe Quinn was out there on the street hitting up who he believed to be a fine female. At 12:45 a.m. November 18th, police responded to reports of shots fired. They found a victim who was extremely upset and bleeding from a head wound. She, but really he, this victim.
Extremely upset and injured?
Yes. Joe Quinn got some revenge on this person. She reported that she was driving home. He reported, this transgender person. He was driving home. Moore approached him, and the two struck up a conversation, which continued afterward at a house that Moore claimed was a friend's. According to the tranny's version of the story, at this house, Moore asked him if he's a man, and he told him that if he's transgender, he'll kill him. And out of fear for his life, the tranny lied and said no. Right. I'm sure that's what happened. Hey, man. Or, hey, hot chick I brought home. Are you a tranny? Because if you are, I'll kill you. Oh, no, of course not. I'm afraid for my life. So I'm lying on account of that fear. That's what happened. And according to the tranny version of the story, eventually, after confirming that this was not a transgender person in his mind, he requested oral sex. And this tranny declined. Oh, no way, sir. I don't dabble in that. And then Moore became defensive and asked if he was transgender again. This time, the victim went out to his car, but Moore pulled a gun on him. And Moore pressed the gun to the victim and demanded to see his genitals as proof of being female. And when the tranny would not show genitals, he pistol whipped him in the head, causing him to bleed. And then there was a chase. And in this chase, old Joe Quinn shot several rounds at the tranny, didn't hit the tranny as far as I understand. And the Joe Quinn disappeared. The tranny was not able to get his justice until April 2nd because they couldn't find Joe Quinn and the tranny couldn't identify who he is. So you had this long conversation with this man at this house, including the topic, the proposal of sex acts that you didn't engage in, but you didn't know his name. You don't know who he is. They couldn't find Joe Quinn until April 2nd when the tranny spotted him at the scene of the crime and he was taken into custody. And then Joe Quinn denied the allegations and attempted to pin the incident on his twin brother. No way, that's my gay twin. That's my gay twin who loves services from dudes pretending to be women.
Bro, just fucking own it, man.
Well, so Joe Quinn is now charged with attempted robbery, unlawful possession of a firearm. So he must have been a criminal of some sort already. Unlawful use of a weapon, and 2 counts of armed criminal action. Plus, now he might get hate crime charges on top of all of this. And now I'm not saying old Joe Quinn here conducted himself perfectly in this encounter, but I do think it's debatable who the aggressor actually is in these cases. Yeah. I don't think it entitles him to like follow the person out into the street and pistol whip and shoot his gun. But when you say like attacker and victim, okay, we are allowing trannies to rape people through fraud and get away with it. We're calling that not like that's just normal, acceptable behavior.
And they're targeting people my skin color, for example.
Yeah, it's racist.
Yeah, it is very racist. Yeah. I mean, you never see a white guy doing this kind of thing. It's always a black dude. Refer to the tweet. Yeah. Every fraudulent blow we don't ever heard of is when a trans guy goes for a black dude specifically.
It's very commonly black dudes. I have seen a lot of them. And the concept of a hate crime is targeting someone on the basis of their identity, like their immutable characteristics. I'm targeting you because you're black and I don't like black people. Now, I don't think transgenderism is an immutable characteristic, but for people who believe that, I'm targeting you just because you're transgender and I don't like transgender people. That's not what's happening here. In these cases, they're not targeting random transgender people on the street. No, the transgender person committed an act against them, which the people are responding to. That is not a hate crime in any way. It is a response to an aggression committed against them. So these are not hate crimes. These are retribution, and we can debate whether the retribution is justified or proportional. But trannies are lying as a means to touch your wiener. And when someone lies as a means to touch your wiener, it is a fraud and it is rape. Yeah. There is no consent when the terms of the arrangement are forged. So you remove consent, that's what it is. It's sexual contact without consent. That's rape, sexual assault, whatever you want to call it. Stop these trannies from raping people through lies and we won't have this anti-trans violence epidemic.
Yep, they infiltrate the bathrooms, they want to take your kids, and they're molesting the blacks.
Dare I say, based Joe Quinn, okay? If only there could be more Joe Quinns.
Why not name him Joseph? That's a great name.
I don't know.
Joseph Moore. See, that's a great name, not just Joe Quinn. He sounds hopped up on medicine.
I'm sure if Joe Quinn was in my town, there would be a lot of Joe Quinn related problems, but fraudulent blowies would not be one of them, okay? That's one checked off the list.
It's just, he must have been raised by a single mama.
I was thinking about this.
Single mamas named their kid that.
I was thinking about this too. Like, we're on this quest to stop hate crimes. What these trannies are doing, they're love crimes. We have to stop love crimes. You love someone so much you lie to them as a means to sexual access. Stop transgender love crimes.
Exactly.
This
See, there's the infamous crime of love right there.
exactly. We've been searching for it. That's what this is. Anyway, let's catch up with our super chatters and we'll call it a night, unless you have more to say about the tweet or Joe Quinn.
Well, the catchphrase for the night was just refer to the tweet, which I find hilarious. And I told you it encompasses everything. It did encompass everything, especially for tonight.
You know,
the only other comment.
Oh, go ahead. Sorry. I
No,
just
the
have
only
a
thing-
Joshy Boy question that I can save for a minute.
Go ahead.
Well, let me see if I can find it because it is sounder related, but it's deep in my
All right.
soundboard. Now, I was wondering, like, maybe next time you can post the tweet and tap the sign. No, we can't do that because it's banned. So you can lean into the tap the sign thing, but other Joshy Boy memes, you had inquired about potentially purchasing a signed Noah
Kaniga
jersey. Did you in fact do that?
Not yet.
Oh.
I might actually do it this week.
Okay.
No, last time something just came up and that required more of my attention. But this week I'll have throwaway money, so I might end up getting that jersey.
Well, put the KTLA tweet on the back of a jersey. Really combine everything. Anyway.
Yes.
Sorry, you were saying something else?
I don't know. I'm done forgot.
Okay. Well, let me hop up.
I will say that every time it seems like every time I'm on, there's always black related stuff that
Dude,
we talk
I'm not
about.
trying to. It's just I save stories throughout the week. And as you can the rotation came. It's like the stories of the world align and then the rotation comes up Joshy Boy. I'm not trying to orchestrate anything here.
What you should do, since you have like a sounder for everything, especially for the Pink Panther, you should have a kind of rap sounder for whenever you're introducing black crimes.
You can make that one for me if you want. I don't know. I don't know that I've earned that level of an N-word pass.
Well, we'll see.
Over on Rumble, Antisocial Grunt. My second born was baptized today. Me and my wife have been watching about 5 years now, and she's been watching longer. We love your show, and it's always a highlight of our week. Happy baptism, Eliana, I believe is the name.
We love you. You're very special.
Congratulations to you and your family, and all the best to Eliana. And thanks for tuning in, and thanks for supporting the show. I
See,
really appreciate it.
that's a nice, wonderful name.
Why not Joe Quinn? See, Joe Quinn sounds like a girl's name to me. It's like Joanne. Like if my wife and I have a daughter in September, we plan to name her Quinn. Hopefully I can reveal that. But Quinn is kind of a boy's name or a girl's name. I think it's
it's a unisex name.
I like it for a girl, but Joe Quinn sounds feminine to me.
Yeah, it's very similar to Jacqueline.
Yeah. Or just Joe Quinn. Like your name is J-O, middle name Quinn.
Yeah.
Joe Quinn. Joanne. That sort of thing. Anyway. Ginger Ninja says, I don't support you enough, Matt, so here's some hyperinflated currency. I order Hero Soap regularly. Hopefully you get a kickback from your discount code and Old West. Also, their dry cologne is legit. Now, I'm not a cologne guy, but I do have a sampling of that stuff. And as far as cologne goes, that is what I would wear, not just because it smells good, but the like cologne, the dry cologne is much nicer than that liquid stuff. Like, I don't want like a wet mess on me as a method of deodorizing myself. So,
well, speaking of wet messes, it sounds like a typical Saturday night for me. I'm just kidding.
Or Joe Quinn, from the hot alleged chick he just picked up off the street. Thank you, Ginger Ninja. I appreciate it. Hope you're doing well, man. And yeah, Hero Soap is great for everybody. As I say, like it's a great product, and I like their company. And they're good guys.
They picked a different name.
You don't like Hero?
I mean, no.
First of all,
I don't know.
What are you here to smear my show sponsors?
Shut up, faggot.
Hero Soap is great, and yeah, it's Anyway, now that I'm just. How am I supposed to promote it honestly when you just talk shit? You've taken me off. No, they're great guys, and I appreciate their product. Oh, I remember what I was going to say. Yeah, I'm a humble soap salesman. That's my career title, humble soap salesman.
All right. Yeah. I'll give you a pass.
Yeah. Well, we're exchanging passes all over, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
I got a meme about the KTLA tweet from Blankets over on. Hold on. Can I think I can like put this on the screen. Let me see. Can I? Well, first of all, am I done on Rumble? I believe I am. Yeah, thank you over there. Let me see if normally I don't like to set the precedent of like trying to pull memes from the chat onto the show, but every once in a while, let me see if I can do that without actually pulling the entire chat. Pull it into this. Okay. There you go. X is just surrendering the tweet to all the week's memers this week, and I'm glad you got to participate in that. Thank you, Blankets. Also says, Matt, did you hear they might have the video of what happened between Anthony and Austin before he got attacked? I've not heard of that. So if there's video out there, of course I want to see it. And Matt, did you hear they made a Minecraft movie? I've heard that. I mean, I don't get the game.
Oh, brother.
Was the game bad? Or the movie bad, I mean?
I hadn't seen it myself. I don't understand why people gave it a chance. It looks like shit, right? They did the live action thing, which they should have done it animated, right? If you watched any of the Minecraft update trailers, it's fully animated. And I don't understand why they just didn't go that direction. By the way, fun fact, it took them a decade to come up with something like that.
Wait, so you're saying
10 years ago, Minecraft was supposed to have a movie because it's always been teased about by the previous guy in charge, Notch. He was always talking about a Minecraft movie. And 10 years later, this is what we get.
Yeah, I don't even understand the basic gameplay of Minecraft. So creating a story around Minecraft makes no sense to me. But
well,
I guess
it
they
won't
did it.
because Minecraft doesn't have a story. It's never had a story.
Yeah.
But
That's why everyone gets to write their own story into Minecraft whenever you need to. Colton Regal, the bad winter is finally breaking out here and things are looking up. I've got my land leased, my seeds sowed, and my plow fixed. Going to take back tobacco production from China, one harvest at a time. Well, that's
homesteading. I say go for it, man. I love it when people homestead and when they start growing their own crops, having their own chicken eggs and everything. I love that shit. I can talk about that all day.
We love you. You're very special.
Becoming a tobacco producer is not common these days, I would assume, and also like. Talk about an industry that's potentially dicey. You know, Godspeed to you, man. I admire the building your own production and managing your own land and doing all that. That's really cool. I just don't know too many people who are hopping into that industry. I didn't even know, like, I guess I'd assumed we like don't even produce tobacco in the United States anymore. No, I have no idea what the
we do. I think I've been to at least one. But it was small scale when it comes to tobacco. They actually, and I don't understand the process. I think you grow it and then you take the leaves and you dry them. That way you can crunch it up. I don't really know the full process of that, but there's at least one here in Tennessee that I've actually been to. But that's because we was picking up some supplies because we was a landscape crew. I guess they did other stuff other than just tobacco. I don't know if you need a license for it, but
do we actually get a lot of our tobacco from China? I mean, it makes sense, I guess, but.
It would make sense if we did, but that would surprise me if we did.
Well, thank you, Colton, and all the best to you, man. Appreciate your support for the show. VV, how does the government not have a system that does X? A decade of government systems development here. Whatever the administrative does, it's a whole generation behind, or simply regarded. I assume he means retarded, maybe? I don't know.
Yeah.
Or I have no idea.
No, see, regarded is code for retarded because YouTube would nail you for something like that.
Yeah.
So there are certain words that they won't allow you to say, otherwise they'll either be taken down or demonetized.
That's the other word.
Yeah. So they just substitute words that sound similar to it.
Yeah. Well, man, I mean, I know that like I don't have a concept of tech development for the government, so I'm not asking for like the fanciest bells and whistles. But to me, that should be like a Gen 1 type feature. Like when entering this piece of data into this field, it must meet criteria A, B, or C, or it's not a valid entry.
Yeah.
And I guess at least in the unemployment benefit system, like you can put birth dates in 2154 and the system doesn't reject or flag that. And to me, that's not like 2025 tech. That's like pre-2000 tech potentially. But yeah, silly me for expecting capability and competence from the government. Fair point. Godspeed with your gun decision, VV. Appreciate it. Okay, I think we're all set. Looks good on YouTube and Tippy. I realized in that meme, I put the full hard R uncensored on the screen. So, all right. Guess I'm just leaning into it.
Refer to the tweet.
Yeah.
That's it.
Good on Rumble, good on Odyssey, good on D Live. Anything else you want to say before we're out of here?
Nah, that's about it.
All right. Well, thank you, of course, thanks to everybody who's tuning in live tonight. Thank you to the live chatters, the super chatters, everybody who's participating in the live show to make the live production a success. And thanks for dealing with my voice too. I'm glad I made it through as much as I could, and I appreciate you.
You didn't die.
I didn't die yet. There's still a couple minutes. Anyway, if you're listening on demand later, thank you kindly as well for supporting the show. Thanks to Jon Patton for joining tonight, theguncollective.com for everything Gun Collective related, guncon.net for his GunCon event. Thanks to Joshy Boy, of course, for sitting in tonight. Thanks to producer Tim for his assistance as well. If you'd like more to listen to, check out the podcast page of my website, mattchristiansenmedia.com/podcasts. Got audio feeds there as well, in addition to the video show. Anything else show related, mattchristiansenmedia.com is where you find it, or mattis.gay if you prefer brevity. I'm back on Wednesday and Sunday nights. Of course, have a great night and a great week.
Good night, everyone.